they literally said the sound of children screaming has been removed. That T-shirt has become a symbol, and we're going to make sure that we never let people forget. So any sales, the profit from any of those shirts sold will go directly to Brett and to Nikki. So far, we've raised $882.09. So just over $100, and we can get over $1,000. And collectively, between myself and some other creators on this app, we're pushing almost $3,000 that we've raised. So if you guys wouldn't mind, if that's something you could do, again, you'll find that link in the link tree that is in the merch store, which is in the link that's in my link tree. Roughly speaking, the profit's around $9 per shirt. It depends on the shirt, but that's the math, all right? So if we can get 100 shirts sold, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. If we can get 20 shirts sold will put us over the number. So again, if you guys wouldn't mind, I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's going to jump in. Let's actually bring up Swish, because you've got something you want to talk about as well. So Swish and I were talking, and it's my bad we didn't connect yesterday. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So you want to add something special that you made.
Hi, everyone. Oh, my God, that's a lot of Swish in the morning. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. First, I want to say, look at y'all. Look what came yesterday.
Beautiful.
I got my T-shirt, and anyone who may be on the fence, it's great quality. The size is exactly right for what is listed. Great cause, so I highly, highly recommend it. Oh, my God, Steve. I'm so nervous about this right now because I just, okay, so here's what we have. This is a 20-ounce skinny tumbler. I make these myself. I hand wrap them. My production team is exactly one person, me. So this is not going to be a quick turnaround. But this is, for anyone who's familiar, I think most of you probably are, but this is the editor's note. Okay, I'm going to turn this a little bit.
A little background. So what she's showing there is the screen grab from a Fox produced video when they were covering the event in Uvalde. So that quote, again, the sound of children screaming has been removed, comes from an editor's note that was put directly on the screen so people could see it. So that's the quote that's on the shirt. Brett has that tattooed on his arm. So our friend Swish here, who's amazingly talented, has used the actual image from the Fox News story and put it on these tumblers. So there you go.
Yeah, and the thing about the video, if I'm not mistaken, Steve, didn't they leave the sounds of the projectiles?
They did.
How disgusting. Okay,
yeah.
And so I don't know if you can tell, but the added thing that I mean, if you really could love a thing like this, that I like about this is that the way this transfers, it looks like this has been drawn by children, right? It looks like crayon. And so, listen, these are on my eBay site. I sell them through there because the shipping is a lot cheaper for everyone, almost half in some instances. And they'll be $30 to start. First come, first serve. Of course, we already talked, you and I, Steve.
Yep.
I typically do the $20 price point for these tumblers in general, but I have done $25 for these, $10 from each. And if I can scratch out some more, depending on what the cost ends up being, as far as the tumblers, the ink, all that stuff. But a solid $10 each will go to Brett and Nikki Cross's foundation, RiseForYou.net. So at least off the top, that's going to be a $300 donation to them. So we'll have 30 to start, and I'll keep going as long as my little stubby fingers will let me go. I tried to share this with Brett and with Matt as well, but I have reached my message quota for them. We're not mutuals on here. So if you want to get it over to them, I did tag them in the video. Anybody who wants to, let them know or whatever.
Well, thank you for,
sorry.
And they're sturdy.
And they're very sturdy. Listen, these are double insulated. They will come with a stainless steel straw and a cleaning brush, and they keep your cold drinks cold for like 8 to 10 hours, I think. And if
that's amazing.
Like your hot coffee, it's like 6 to 8 hours or something. I use these all the time. I am going to be carrying this one with me everywhere I go. I did also order a T-shirt, Steve, so that should be getting here soon. I think I ordered it through yours. but I'm going to be carrying this everywhere. I went out last night, Saturday, to my friends, and they were like, "Oh, that's interesting. What is that?" And I said, "Yeah, it is interesting. Let me tell you about it." And so I can't wear the same T-shirt every single day, but by God, I'm going to carry this every single day, and I'm going to tell anybody who will listen what this is about. So that's it. Thank you for the time. I appreciate you so much. Love y'all.
Thank you very much. You have
Be
a
good
day.
to yourselves.
Thanks again.
Have a good
See you
day.
later.
All right. Drop me down.
You got it. So there you go. So that's how we use our talents to do things for good. So again, that's available in Swish's eBay store, which is in a link in her link tree in her bio. Good morning, my friend.
Good
Happy
morning.
Monday. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Still alive.
Yes, you are. There you are. By the way, I need everybody to see. I need everybody to see my felt Christmas tree Christmas sweater. It's actual felt, right?
I was gonna wear red. I wish I knew you were going to, and then I would have worn. I had.
Yeah, it's like a last minute thing. I realized that I have it in the in my closet. So welcome to a Monday. Welcome to the hellscape that is the Musk administration.
Amen.
Yeah. So Felice and I were talking about this, and there's so many. I mean, there's so many things that we can cover off on. Before we get too deep into that, I want to touch on the Amazon and the Starbucks strike a little bit because I think it's really interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, the picket lines, in particular, the picket line for everybody. Please like and share the live. Tapping is clapping. Sharing is caring. Felice's pay apps are above her head. Please consider supporting her. For those of you who do not know, Felice talks about, she's very humble about this. She talks about her outlines. I cannot tell you, for somebody who's worked in research and all these kinds of things, I cannot tell you how unbelievably detailed they are. So thank you in advance, and everybody should thank you for the amount of work that you put in to do these kinds of things. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
So the Amazon strike in particular was really, this is like the example of the class war that we've been talking about, right? Because as we've said many times from the get-go, this entire thing has been a distraction. That's been the entire point. Let's talk about brown people. Let's talk about women. Let's talk about the LGBTQA community. Hate them. Meanwhile, we're putting more billionaires in our cabinet. Just recently, the former co-founder of PayPal is now a member of the Trump team. So here we are. We've got this strike, Amazon workers striking, and that the Amazon workers strike. They want to unionize. It's not just liberal Democrats. It's not just woke purple-haired people. It's people from all walks of life. Conservative voters, Republicans, independents, progressives. It literally touches everybody because they employ so many people. So this is one of those things where maybe America is waking up in many regards, right? So by the way, I did a little bit of research. Jeff Bezos, his net worth is now $265 billion. He makes $28,344 a minute. Starting salary for somebody in a warehouse annually is $28,000 a year. So again, he makes $28,344 a minute. The starting salary for somebody who works in his warehouse is $28,000 annually. So the point that we've been trying to make is that it's the billionaire class that is corrupting our nation, the oligarch class. And that text that I sent you, that tweet that Elon put out over the weekend or last week, I'm going to find it again because I think it says everything that we need to say. And here, I'll read it to you. Where is it? Who did I send that to? Did I send it to myself? I know where it is. Hold on.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, like I'm just looking up, like, because when you look at a corporation and what Jeff Bezos is doing, you look at, what is the wealth inequality ratio between the average worker and Jeff Bezos. And this is just what we're looking. Jeff Bezos's net worth, average Amazon worker data. This is from as of 2023. So median Amazon worker salary. So this isn't starting the lowest starting. It's the median average across all states. 34,000 a year, including benefits and stock options, 39,000 a year. So there's no benefits and stock options. This creates a wealth income ratio of roughly, wait a minute, I don't even know what that, 175 billion to 39,000 or 4.5 million to 1. Is the wealth to income ratio. That's crazy.
I really want to read this because I think it tells us everything. Or is it? I got to find. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this was a tweet that Elon put out, right? So again, remember, part of the whole push from Project 2025 and Agenda 47 and the Republican platform was that they wanted to get rid of unelected bureaucrats from our government, civil servants, the whole Schedule F thing. They wanted to replace 15,000 federal workers with loyalists. The key component to that was unelected bureaucrats. Felice, what has Elon Musk been elected to?
Exactly. He's the richest unelected bureaucrat in the world.
Vivek, was he elected?
No, he was not.
Yeah, is Doge an official government agency?
It is not. At best, it's a commission.
So this is Elon's tweet. With Trump appointing me and other billionaires to his cabinet, I keep hearing the term oligarchy thrown around. Do people not realize that politicians are already beholden to the ultra wealthy, that they have been for decades? Why insist on keeping the middlemen? I think that tells you everything you need to know. We don't need Congress. We don't need the politicians. Just hand the keys to the whole fucking car to us in the billionaire class, and we got this. I'll read that one more time.
Which is going back to aristocracy, right? Like, that's the point.
Exactly. With Trump appointing me and other billionaires to his cabinet, I keep hearing the term oligarchy thrown around. Do people not realize that politicians are already beholden to the ultra wealthy, that they have been for decades? Why insist on keeping the middlemen? Crazy.
Yeah, my thoughts on that, like, I just want to, and God, I'm going to say the scary word. Guys, keep tapping the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 50K as fast as possible for Facts. He hosts such a great safe space with such informative topics. Let's see if we can get to 50K as fast as possible and share the live. And if you don't have anyone to share with, just push the copy link button, and it is super helpful to index in the algorithm. Yeah, my thoughts on that are this. The point of capitalism, right? The whole thing, like after the French Revolution, was because that's what was going on. There were the serfs, just people who were tied to the land, and then there were the rich people, right? There was the donor class, the aristocracy, right? And their survival, these people down here were surviving on these people, or were dependent on the noblesse oblige, is what they called it, of the people up here. And Marx, that's what Marx was saying was, right. Hey, I liked what the French Revolution was about. It was about the rise of the middle class, right? The rise of the bourgeoisie, and saying, hey, I don't want to be dependent on the donor class anymore for my survival in this economy. But essentially cutting out the middleman is going back. That's what he's saying. He's like, let's go back to the time when there was the donor class, and then there were the serfs that were tied to the land, dependent on the donor class for survival. That's one of the scariest things to hear somebody say ever.
Yeah, and again, remember, MAGA, don't forget, the whole Trump campaign and the message that they sent to you through various means was there's too many bureaucrats in Washington, too many people, unelected officials scattered throughout our government, bureaucracy, unelected officials who were civil servants by definition, not nonpartisan people within politics who get the work done. Like we always say, they're the ones that make the sausage. They're the ones that are no name, no face. They're the ones that are doing the work. They span multiple administrations because they know the system. They know how it works. They keep the government moving. So instead of that, they are being replaced with loyalists within the Musk administration because Donnie can't get out of the high chair. And now they're being replaced with bureaucrats again, unelected individuals, but this time they're billionaires. So there's another example. I'll read this one because I think this is fascinating. Another example of somebody else. Here's more of the deep state. I'm pleased. This is from Trump's on Truth Social. I am pleased to announce Ken Howry as my choice for United States Ambassador to the Kingdom of Denmark. Ken is a world-renowned entrepreneur, investor, and public servant who served our nation brilliantly during my first term as U.S. Ambassador to Sweden, where he led efforts to increase defense, security, and economic cooperation between our countries. As a co-founder of PayPal and venture capital fund, Founders Fund, Ken turned American innovation and tech leadership into global success stories, and that experience will be invaluable in representing us abroad. For purposes of national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. Ken will do a wonderful job in representing the interests of the United States. Thank you, Ken, and congratulations. Another billionaire in the Trump cabinet. Another billionaire in a position within our government who, again, is looking out for us. Now, this obsession that he's had with Greenland, it's like, and now the Panama Canal.
No, it's oil. Just to be clear, that's about oil.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah. So that's just since the polar ice caps are melting and will probably lead to our imminent demise. I guess he wants to make $1 trillion for his oil and gas cronies, right? Remember when he was going to trade Greenland? Thanks, Cookie. Cookie. I love that Christmas tree. I love it. Remember when he was going to trade Greenland for Puerto Rico?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then the statements from recently on True Social from, wanting to take back the Panama Canal, and the Panamanian government's like, yeah, no. So these are the distractions like we've been talking about, which goes back to this whole strike, this Amazon strike. So I was fortunate because Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, has this really, she's using her money wisely. Since their divorce, she's given nearly $20 billion to causes. And I can say that I wrote a grant for the Vermont Food Bank a couple of years ago, and got $10 million, which was twice their annual operating budget from the Scott Foundation. She actually came to a ribbon cutting ceremony there, and I got to meet her. It was a very surreal kind of moment. I'm thinking, okay, here's this ex-wife of this guy that we despise, and she's doing this amazing work. So that's an example. As Jeff Bezos' wealth grows, as Elon's wealth has increased just since the election by like over 100%. This is what's happening. This is what we now see, infiltration within our government. And what we saw last week was Donald Trump's political power diminishing again and again and again and again. If you think about, and I've got some really interesting audio that I'm going to play in just a minute. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, just to say, like, what's going on if you don't know about the Amazon strike specifically, Jeff Bezos is denying workers the right to unionize. The Teamsters are sort of helping them attempt to do this. They're doing it in major cities, like the only fulfillment center in New York. Like there's been some walkouts, but they're being demonized, and Amazon is fighting this in court, right? They are not allowing people, they're forming unrecognized labor groups and unions, but Amazon is refusing to negotiate and refusing to deal with them in any way. And I was talking about this I think it was Thursday, that Elon Musk was tweeting that it's best to just privatize the federal government, to chop, so basically, what he was talking about was chopping it up into pieces, divvying it up between billionaires. And Jeff Bezos, this is after, I believe, did they have dinner on Wednesday night? I think they had dinner Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. This is Thursday. They're chatting on X about it's best to privatize the federal government. I made my prediction that of course is going to mean Jeff Bezos wants the United States Postal Service. Yep. He already is building. He hated negotiating with them when, as Amazon, he famously went around them, started developing his own infrastructure to deliver packages because he did not want to negotiate with the federal government. And now he's on X talking about, we should privatize the federal government. I just want everyone to know, this thing about firing civil servants and that, the bureaucracy is bloated, that it's a lie. Just to know, they're actually, if you want to do something, it's the private sector. There's a great article on this. If anyone wants a resource to ever correct MAGA because MAGA has no idea anything about our federal government, right?
None.
And there's an amazing analysis done by one of my favorite authors. It's called "If Trump Wants to Cut Government Workers, Look to the Private Sector," right? Most of our government are actual private sector workers who are contracted by the government. If we fired every full-time federal employee, I'm trying to remember what the percentage is, but it would not even put a dent. We would save no money. It would be such a small percentage of the actual federal budget. It's a joke, right?
So we have some breaking news. So the House ethics report is out, and they did find evidence that Matt Gaetz paid thousands for sex and drugs, including paying a 17-year-old for sex in 2017. The House Ethics Committee found evidence that former Rep. Matt Gaetz paid tens of thousands of dollars to women for sex or drugs on at least 20 occasions, including paying a 17-year-old girl in 2017, according to a final draft of the panel's report on the Florida Republican obtained by CNN. The committee concluded in its bombshell document that Gates violated federal Florida state laws, including a state's statutory grape law, as the GOP-led panel chose to take the rare step of releasing a report about a former member who resigned from Congress. Quote, the committee determined there is substantial evidence that Representative Gates violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory grape, illicit use of substances, impermissible gifts, special favors or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. The panel investigated transactions Gates personally made, often using PayPal or Venmo, to more than a dozen women during his time in Congress. According to the report, investigators also focused on a 2018 trip to the Bahamas, which they said, quote, violated the House gift rule, during which he engaged in activity with multiple women, including a minor, and one who described the trip in itself as the payment for sex on the trip. On the same trip, he also took a certain substance. One woman on the trip told the committee. That gentleman was chosen by Donald Trump to be the Attorney General of the United States. Thoughts, Felice?
Well, my initial thoughts are, and I'm sorry, someone kind of nailed it in the comment that said we're surprised by this. No, I don't want to act like I'm surprised, because all of this has been out in the public domain. It's just Matt Gaetz was denying it, and we'd have never seen the federal investigation the FBI was doing, right? That's probably the missing piece, was how far did they go in their investigation? But yeah, once I heard those girls testified for the ethics committee, and not just those girls, if you watch CNN, they had a woman on who, it wasn't just the underage girls that testified. It's a woman who was there and said she saw it happen. Yep. She witnessed it. This was happening publicly at a party. It's disgusting. But disgusting. That's the requirement, right? Like fascism, one of the tenets of fascism is devaluing women, dehumanizing women, right? The subjugation of women.
That's exactly right. I mean, every marginalized group, in particular women. But I think what's interesting about this is that I think it's quite obvious that Republicans in Congress despised Matt Gaetz. Initially, they attempt to provide cover by not releasing this report. We've all known, but up until now, it was a smoking gun, so to speak. There was no direct evidence. We all made assumptions. We all believe in the rule of law, investigate crimes, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Now we have the evidence. We have the paper trail. What was his friend, Joel Greenberg, right?
I was going to say, Joel Greenberg testified against him. Joel Greenberg has incriminated. I didn't think, I wasn't making it up out of thin air. Joel Greenberg is in jail. Joel Greenberg is the Michael Cohen of the Stormy Daniels case. You know how Michael Cohen went to jail for Donald Trump, and Trump was named as unindicted co-conspirator one because he was a president, so he couldn't be held accountable. Right? That's Joel Greenberg is Matt Gaetz's Michael Cohen, right? That's essentially who he is. He's in jail for 13 years for what Matt Gaetz did. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were both doing fraud. And by the way, the reason Matt Gaetz largely was caught is because he did not privatize, he didn't private his Venmo payment. So he's doing all this and it was public.
We'll get more into that. As a reminder, the ethics report is out. I'll probably be reading it later today.
I'm going to read it.
Yeah. And there's evidence of what now there's the paper trail. We've always known about the Venmo and PayPal payments. And just as a reminder, Donald Trump just appointed the former co-founder of PayPal to be the ambassador to Denmark so that he can be part of the negotiations to buy back fucking Greenland, because we don't have anything else important to do. Anyway, we'll be on.
Wait, can I read you these stats? Before I was talking about how actually when you hear them talking about Doge and how there's so much government waste and we need to fire all the bureaucracy, he read the tweet from Elon Musk, cut out the middlemen. I just want to be clear. That is a misnomer and a lie. I just want to read some stats again. The number of people who get paid from the U.S. Treasury but work for private businesses and nonprofits is now more than 3 times as large as the entire on-payroll federal civilian workforce. Now, listen to this. So remember, you hear them saying just know the reason they're firing the civil service is just to make sure that Donald Trump has people that are only loyal to him. When they say it's about saving money and that there's all this government waste, that's not true. Listen to this. If we fire every single federal employee for eliminating the entire on payroll federal workforce would reduce total federal spending by less than 5%. Yeah, I mean, so I just want to be clear. It's actually government contracted people from the private sector that are 3 times as large, right? And there is a lot of government waste. That part is true, but it's in the military. And I was going to point this out to you. Now, remember, I don't know if you guys remember a week or so ago, there was actually another big bill that was passing the House and the Senate, but you never heard anything about it. It's called we have to pass it every year. It's the largest spending bill. You know, what are the largest spending bills? It's called the National Defense Authorization Act. It's all the military spending, all the waste. I always like to say we spend $34 million on Viagra, a year in the military. I mean, there's so much waste in the military. But did you hear Elon Musk tweeting at 4 a.m. to cancel that because of waste and to comb through it? No, because why? All of these billionaires have military they are benefiting from the American military complex.
Exactly.
That's why.
And, and just recently, and this is on that thread, just recently, Elon has gone out publicly saying that he asks if the IRS should be deleted. Okay. So the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, he asks if it should be deleted. Gee, I wonder why. That's because in the Inflation Reduction Act, passed under the Biden administration, thank you, Joe and Kamala, the IRS has recovered $4.7 billion from tax cheats, including, here's the number, IRS has now recovered $4.7 billion from new initiatives underway, all part of the Inflation Reduction Act. This includes $1.3 billion from high-income, high-wealth individuals who've not paid overdue tax debt or filed tax returns, $2.9 billion related to the IRS criminal investigation work into tax fraud and financial crimes, including trafficking of illicit substances, cybercrime, T-risk financing, and another $475 million in proceeds from criminal and civil cases attributable to whistleblower information. So again, Elon Musk wants to delete the IRS. Meanwhile, under the Inflation Reduction Act passed by the Biden-Harris administration, $4.7 billion have been recovered from tax cheats. Gee, Felice, you see any coincidences there that Elon would want the IRS to go away?
Oh, no, I completely validate what you're saying. And in addition to that, just remember, during the last midterms, all you heard Trump saying is they want to go after single moms and tax them more and audit them and steal money from poor people. It was never about that, right? Biden, I'll say the one thing Biden failed at was driving the real narrative of what was going on. What we wanted to do at the IRS, right? Now, and let me just show you how MAGA constantly shoots themselves in the foot, right? By having no idea what's actually going on. For every dollar we invest into the IRS, we get $5 back. There's no better ROI in the government than that. And what we were doing was we were hiring high-level forensic accountants that can do high-level forensic audits, right? That can track this thing called basis shifting, where all billionaires are hiding their money, right? And valuing or writing off assets more than once. And that's what this was about. Was high-level forensic audits and then having IRS agents to go and actually levy that money and make sure the revenue comes into us, which would have taken the burden off the middle and lower class.
Correct. $4.7 billion. And that's just since the Inflation Reduction Act has been passed, right? So that, again, as a reminder, that is something that the Trump campaign, now the Musk administration, has talked about repealing the Inflation Reduction Act. And it's not a coincidence that you've got a cabinet stacked with billionaires sprinkled throughout the government, billionaires part of writing policy to benefit billionaires. Of course, they don't want the IRS going after them so they can continue to take advantage of the tax code, right? So this is just another example of how the billionaire class has us all under the string. We're all sitting in the high chair when we have the Musk administration and the feckless person that was actually elected in charge of these kinds of things. So MAGA, as a reminder, right? The lie that you've been told, and Felice just did a really good job breaking it down. You were told that they were going to go after you. They don't give a shit about us. They really don't. They don't.
Do you know
They care
why?
about the tax cheats.
Because for accountants make enough money that actually for people that don't make enough, like aren't making enough revenue, it's not worth it. The accountants, they have to pay more to the accountants to audit people like us. It's not even worth it, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I want to play. So again, what I witnessed last week, and we'll go back and we'll talk about the box is open. We really like to talk to our friends on the right because
there's so many people in the comments. There's so MAGA. You're in the comments saying a bunch of incorrect things. Why don't you come up here and have a conversation about it? Say it with, you know what I mean? I see a lot of MAGA just saying things.
I know. Actually, we have a request in the box, so I'll bring up user. What should we call you, sir? What should we call you?
John.
Okay, John. So, how are you today?
Good.
Got all your Christmas shopping done?
Yes.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Oh, what are you guys gonna do when they take away TikTok?
Well, we'll see if that happens. Do you think it's going to happen? I mean, you're on TikTok now, so do you think it's going to happen?
So.
Why?
Because you guys are here every day, and hating Trump is not a policy.
So, John, do you have something that you'd like to contribute to the conversation?
We are actually talking about facts and numbers, not hating Trump. That's what you brought up.
You should support your president.
Just like you supported just like you supported Joe Biden?
Yeah, I supported Joe Biden.
You did? You did?
Yeah.
You never said anything disparaging about him?
No.
So did you vote for Elon Musk?
Don't you want America to prosper?
Yeah, but do you think billionaires are looking out for us?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Yeah,
Well,
Elon Musk is not corrupt. He doesn't have 100 million like Nancy Pelosi.
No, he's got 400 billion.
Exactly.
He's got much more than that.
Yeah, and he made it the honest way. He
No, he didn't. He's made 200 billion just since the election.
He didn't stock market manipulate.
Okay, let me help you out here. Let me help you out. You can look up the 2023 Unusual Wells report. That's an actual report of people in Congress outperforming the stock market, right? And it's very fishy. I agree with you. However, if you have a problem, like I 100% have a problem with people in Congress placing trades in the stock market, right? That's a progressive issue. Republicans don't want to do anything about that, right? If you join us on the left to stop Congress from legally placing trades in the stock market, they are not currently doing anything. Wait, can I finish my statement? Because I want to help you. I want to help you understand because you're very confused. And if you look at the Unusual Whales report, Nancy Pelosi is making a pittance compared to Republicans in the Senate or this one guy named Brian Higgins. Like you just heard that, right? You just read memes. And so you guys always repeat Nancy Pelosi. She is the least of our problems of Congress outperforming the stock market.
Yeah, if I joined you guys, right?
What do you mean joined us?
Do I have to wear a dress?
I told him to join us, and if he cares about getting stopping Congress from making stock trades, because it's a progressive issue.
So, John, are we now going to see your transphobia?
Yeah, I got to wear.
John, how about this, John? Let's start from scratch. What'd you have for breakfast today? Yeah, nobody fucking cares.
I know that was T's profile pic too. I saw that. It was so super. Weird. John's super creepy. Like, please don't project your weirdness onto us, John.
Yeah, thanks, John. Appreciate you, boo boo. So I want to play some. You know who Steve Schmidt is? He did this. I mean, I think what we witnessed last week. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Felice's pay apps are above her head. Just as a reminder, in my link tree in the merch store, you'll find a shirt that has the quote: "The sounds of children screaming have been removed." That's a fundraiser for our friend Brett and Nikki Cross. Their son Uzziah was taken in the Robb Elementary firearms unaliving event on May 24th of 2022. All proceeds from the profits will go to that. Currently, we have $882.09 raised. So if we can sell another 10 to 15 shirts, that'll put us over $1,000. So thank you all very, very much. And that link is in the link tree in my bio in the merch store. So former Republican political operative Steve Schmidt, who's worked with numerous political campaigns, was involved in the Lincoln Project. He talks about what we kind of witnessed last week about how, you know, the influence of Elon Musk in Congress is disturbing, and it should be disturbing for anybody, especially the hypocrisy that is MAGA, because you said you do not want unelected bureaucrats. Never mind. Yes, absolutely. Let the mods know, Felice. Whoever that might be, absolutely. I'm sorry. Let's focus on that. Let's just let the mods know.
I want to talk about it right now out loud, if you don't mind, because of
Gotcha. You got it. Okay. So former Republican Steve Schmidt, who has been, you know, railing against the Trump administration and the Republican deep state for a very long time. I just want you to listen to what he has to say, because I think it's really, really, really important that these are the kinds of things that we should really be talking about, because he kind of, in his own way, he really kind of summarizes it. So this is what we'll just listen to Steve Schmidt. It's about 2 minutes.
90 million people didn't give a shit and didn't show up to vote. Some of those people are going to suffer, and I feel badly for that. But there is nothing that can be done, because to try to intervene and stop the suffering will lead to more and greater suffering. So therefore, in this moment, it is of the utmost importance that Democrats do not give the MAGA movement one vote, not one, zero. Speaker Johnson has dug his proverbial political grave here, and now all that is left to do is lie down in it. Politics can be a brutal business, and this is a time when it's time to be brutal. No votes, not a one, for the MAGA forces that have vandalized and are about to start vandalizing the United States. But back to Elon Musk. He doesn't understand politics. And what he and Vivek Ramaswamy have foisted upon Donald Trump now is a version of MAGA Vietnam. They had their chance to sweep all the detritus into the ocean off the deck of the boat, but they chose not to. So when January comes and the new Congress convenes, it will start with chaos. And then all those moderate Republicans in tough races, they get to choose. Do I want to lose in a primary to Trump or to the Democrat in November? Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, took office, and the day after, he had a net approval of 16 points. A couple months later, his net approval is minus 50. The goal of the Democratic Party is to push upon Donald Trump's failure as early and as often as possible, because his agenda, all of it, is a danger to the security of the United States and to the prosperity of the United States. The gift that Elon Musk has given to the Democrats is now they'll have to take the vote on the cuts along with the tax cuts for Elon Musk, who, by the way, and this is very important, he was elected to nothing. He was appointed to nothing. He was confirmed by nobody to nothing. Vivek Ramaswamy and Mike Johnson and Elon Musk are text friends, not government friends.
Well, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. I was on a text chain last night with Elon and Vivek about Doge, because I'm super excited about that. And I said, guys, these are the necessary things. They don't like spending either. They said, we know this is not you personally, Mr. Speaker, and we got to get through this.
So who's in charge exactly? Who's in charge? So again, like we've been talking about from the beginning of today's show, and like Felice and I and others have been telling you guys for months, the distraction has been the entire point. The Republican Party is starting to realize, especially after we saw what happened with the you know, the spending bill and the CR and keeping the government open, is that Donald Trump has no power. He thinks he's got this political power, and he has none. It is the people behind the scenes that are pulling the strings, and the Republican Party knows it, which is why Mike Johnson is on a text group chat sharing recipes and, you know, sharing cat memes and talking about how the oligarchs can continue to take over our government. That's disturbing to hear that, right? That is disturbing. But that's where we are, right? So again, The box is open. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, for MAGA in the chat, I keep seeing everyone saying we're whining. Like I can show you data. We can talk about statistical analysis that proves, right, the Republican, or let's say conservative economic policy has robbed you, right? You guys think that brown people sneaking into the country have stolen your money. It's absolutely not true. I was doing a statistical analysis of wealth distribution, right? From 1980, to 2024. Was doing another one from 1980 to 2020. And we can talk about those numbers, how there is no trickle down, that we have been stolen from. We can track it month over month, quarter over quarter, the wealth being concentrated at the top of the economy. I'm talking about facts.
Correct. Mark S. Taylor, I just sent you an invite, Mark. Can you come up? Because I just think you're a little bit confused by some things. And maybe you can represent MAGA today for our conversations.
We're almost to 100K, guys. Keep tapping the screen. This is Cash App and Venmo. If you would like to tip us, we'll read whatever you write in the comments. Out loud question, comment, concern, dad joke, Christmas joke, whatever the case may be. And we so appreciate your support. Thank you guys so much for the gift.
Do you have any Christmas traditions that are unique, Felice?
That's, I'm one of the people that doesn't really do well during the holidays. I don't really celebrate the holidays. I just rest, right? Like I'm just looking forward to curling up with some edibles and reading a book.
There you go. Make your own
that is the best Christmas I can have.
Make your own traditions. Okay. So I'll bring up Andy. Andy's loyal to the family. So again, box is open, guys. We want to have this conversation, but MAGA, you guys are chirping like crazy from the chat. Good morning, Andy.
How are you guys? And
Excellent.
Happy holidays.
Same to you. What's on your mind today?
All right. So I've just been listening in on what you and Felice have been sharing, and it's pretty much like the worst case scenario as like anybody could really imagine that is on the left that has been screaming this for years and years on end of just like the oligarchy. And this is absolutely oligarchy. And, the way that I see it playing out, and, feel free to just correct me if I'm wrong. If Musk is like really just pulling the strings, then I see this administration not lasting long, well into the midterms, because I feel like MAGA is just a party that eats their own. And if one has dirt on the other, then I just foresee that party just blowing themselves up to bits.
Well, I think the Republican Party doesn't exist. It's the influence of MAGA and the oligarchs. I think what you're seeing though now is moderate Republicans. So even the reason that we know names like, Nancy Mace and MTG on the right, and, AOC and, Jared Moskowitz and Jasmine Crockett on the left is because they're the ones that garner the headlines. Legislation, it's the people in the middle. It's the moderates on both sides, moderate Republicans, moderate Democrats. Yes, they do still exist. We just don't know who they are because they don't ask for the highlights. They don't ask for the spotlight. They're the ones that are doing the work. The problem is the MAGA Freedom Caucus in particular has such power because there's such a narrow majority. They get to control the agenda. What we saw last week, though, was members of that party, that the Freedom Caucus, saying this is bullshit. They're done, because they go back to their districts and they talk about fiscal conservatism. They talk about they don't want all the waste in government. They get high and mighty on Doge, but then they want to raise the debt limit another $5 trillion so they can roll out another tax cut. So the House is, long story short, the House, literally and figuratively, is crumbling around them, proving once again they cannot legislate. They want to be the party in the minority so they can be chaos agents, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. And this is also one of the other things that you guys mentioned earlier this morning, like the Amazon strikes and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos having dinner together. I think another thing that's going to attribute to just something later on that I hope doesn't happen, and it doesn't get violent. But this was actually a topic of what you had talked about, Steve, a few weeks back in the live that I was on here. What Luigi Mangione did to unalive the United Healthcare CEO, will it spark a revolution?
Right.
But I think along with that, along with the wealth disparity that's going to increase under the incoming Trump administration. That's like a hair away from pitchforks and knives coming about and just sparking another revolution in that regard. Because I don't think anybody in the right mind, and MAGA may not see it, but they're certainly going to feel it within the next 4 years, that it's going to spark a revolution because of the whole wealth disparity. And they'll realize too little too late that the billionaires that are put in this administration do not have the working class people's best interests at heart. Not for me, not for you, and certainly not for anybody else that's in this chat.
Yeah, I mean, and Steve Schmidt just called that out. You're right, Andy. I mean, the fact that we've said this before, it may take the entire system to crumble and for everybody to feel pain. My concern is that people that are already at the bottom, in particular marginalized groups, are the ones that are going to feel it the hardest. But let's keep in mind that some people in those marginalized groups also voted for this. So they're going to have to feel the pain. And Steve Schmidt called it out very, very well. And I hope that we can take Hakeem Jeffries to his word, because on January 3rd, the process begins to elect a new speaker. And he's made it clear that they're not going to save Mike Johnson. So they're on their own. They're going to have to navigate through this. And because the fracturing, and then we know that had that story about Kay Granger, the rep from Texas, who disappeared, and come to find out she's being treated in a facility that supports dementia. So she's been absent, and literally an active member, a serving member of Congress, has been in this facility in Texas who treats people with dementia. So
are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
No,
that came out over the weekend. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So then now we have a majority that's even getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So they're going to have to prove that they can govern. And as we've been saying, and you brought it up very well, Andy, we talk about the revolution. And that's why I think this workers' strike, again, Jeff Bezos worth $250 billion, makes $28,000 a day, and his work, or an hour, and then his workers' starting salary for some logistics jobs is $28,000 annually.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Listen to wait, can I say, I want to just comment on the union stuff, because I was doing a statistical analysis of union versus non-union workers, and it's fascinating, right? Like injury rates per 100 workers for union workplaces, 3.1, non-union workplaces, 4.7, 34% lower injury rate, just in injuries. Safety violation reporting. You're allowed to report safety, 78% for union, non-union, 38%. Resolution rate of reported violations, if you're a union, 89%. Non-union, 54%. Job security metrics. Layoff rates for union, 2.2%. Layoff rates for non-union workers, 4.1%. Wrongful termination. Union have actual formal grievance procedures, like 100% of the time. Non-union workers with formal grievance procedure, 14.5%. Successful resolution rate of disputes, union 74%, non-union 31%. Training skills and development on the job. Union, they get 68% are given access to employer provided training. Non-union 38%. Like it goes on and on and on and on. And billionaires surrounding Trump, including Trump. Remember pre-election, he was sitting in a Twitter Spaces for hours with Elon Musk, praising Elon Musk for being a union buster, for not allowing workers to organize. And that's the cognitive dissonance we need to talk to MAGA about. Hey, you're a blue collar worker. How do you reconcile this? That your role models, the people you idolize, are disenfranchising you, are making sure you are paid less, that you have no upward mobility in your job, that you don't have on the job training, that you can't report and mediate workplace accidents, that you're in a statistically more unsafe environment, right? That you are making less in wages, right? That you have fewer benefits.
I'll be right back.
Sure. I mean, that's the question we need, or that's the conversation I think we need to have with MAGA. But the answer is, cognitive dissonance. Because if you can't admit the truth that billionaires are harming you, the data is there. You are being harmed by Elon Musk. You are being harmed by Jeff Bezos.
No, yeah, absolutely. And one more thing that I do want to add on to that, Felice, because I was part of a union. Like I was a I was a painter for just like a small painting company, and this was just part of a union because we had contracts in different places. Now, most of the people that I worked with were conservative at the time, but I always learned that unions aren't just about getting more money, all right? It's about fairness. And to what you brought up, Felice, like that's the numbers that just MAGA will refuse to see. I hope that they can de-radicalize themselves to actually see those numbers, because one thing you can say is, oh yeah, this person lies, but guess what doesn't lie? Numbers and facts. And that is just the God honest truth. So to everybody that's MAGA in the chat, just keep in mind, unions are not just about trying to get money. Like ideally, everybody should be making a livable wage. But unions at the end of the day are about fairness, making sure that if something happens to us on the job, that we're covered, that we have decent health insurance, dental, just health insurance for almost everybody if we have a family, or just for ourselves if we're by ourselves. So to say that, the union busters that are the billionaires of the incoming administration, they think they're going to decide what's best for you. Trust me when I tell you, they're not. And Felice just hit every nail on the head with the numbers.
Yeah, and I want to just read the conclusions, and this is in my Discord. This statistical analysis I did, it's in the Discord if you want to look at this information. But the conclusions of this are: one, high union workers experience higher wages across all demographic groups, more comprehensive benefits package, greater workplace safety, enhanced job security, better access to training and career development, and more stable income and long-term economic security.
Yep.
And this is data. These aren't my feelings. This is a statistical analysis.
So keep in mind, Andy, thanks for jumping in today, friend. Appreciate you as always. You have a good day.
Yeah, thank you guys, and happy holidays.
Nice to meet you, Andy.
So one of the tenets of fascism, we've talked about this, is that union power is suppressed while corporate cronyism is highlighted and promoted. So we're seeing that, obviously. So the National Labor Relations Board is an agency within our government that does protect the rights of workers. And the influence now that the Trump administration will have over that board, quite frankly, because I think the Biden administration dropped the ball during this transition period, during the lame duck period, to protect that particular group from.
No, they didn't drop the ball. Kirsten Sinema, my senator from Arizona, on her way out, shat on us.
I guess my point is that I think they waited too long. Right?
So you know, Kirsten Sinema, the one that went independent, was a Democrat, turned independent, works for Case, will soon be a lobbyist on K Street, I'm assuming, based on the wealth she has amassed. She voted against confirming a Democrat on the Labor Relations Board. We could have controlled it for 2 more years.
Yeah, I guess what I meant was they waited too long. That was my point. They knew this was coming. They should have done something sooner. Anyway, that's an example of how labor rights will not be protected.
And Joe Manchin. That is true. That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. And Joe, who, by the way, there's somebody on TikTok who apparently had a relationship with Mr. Manchin. She didn't want to go public with his name. Yeah.
What? When? What? I don't
know, right? He used to go by 24. She said, the only thing I'll tell you is he used to go by 24, which I think that is a name that I think his boat's name or something like that. But, he likes to fish a lot, but I'm not going to give his name.
Is he married?
And yes. And then the sleuths of the internet have kind of narrowed it down to being potentially Joe Manchin, which a lot of people are thinking that's one of the reasons why he decided to resign from Congress. So anyway.
Wait, so is she showing her face? I just didn't know anything about this. So just let me ask. Is she showing her face?
She is. Yeah. She's showing her face, but she didn't name names. I'll find it and send it to you. But again, this is what we're talking about. So when you guys have, the whole cry wolf movement, the problem is that messaging against the right for years has been talking about calling everybody fascist, calling with their fascistic tendencies. Well, we're here. So now you're like, yeah, we've heard it before. But again, one of the tenets of fascism is suppressing labor movements in support of cronyism. In support of corporations and cronyism, the wealthy, and we're seeing it on full display. The union,
scary.
Yeah, the organizers who want to be unionized in Amazon, it's a losing fight. It is a losing fight for them. Let's be real. It's very unlikely that they're going to bend very much. It's very unlikely. But this is the problem, right? When we've got all these things you just talked about, the reason that we have some of the protections we have in the workplace are because of unions.
Oh, absolutely.
40-hour work weeks, things like you were talking about, right?
It all was born of unions, yes.
Yeah.
And the courage of workers to stand up, even though they're going to be fired, right? Even, or face retribution, and to fight. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So again, back to the whole mess that we're in and what we saw last week. So, and just as a reminder, and Felice and I went over this on the People's Receipts on Friday, which, by the way, is a fabulous show. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. It's awesome. I basically just show a lot of receipts of what's going on in politics, and the constant stream of lies and hypocrisy.
Yeah. We were talking, we went through the iterations that, the games that they were playing, the last minute deals, wanting to raise the debt limit, which I think is interesting since it's only convenient when the party who will soon be in power want to continue to spend recklessly and hand out more tax breaks for their donor class, at the expense of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, funding for children's cancer research, things like that. So Republicans in Congress stood up and said, no, we're done with this bullshit. So that's a loss. That's a big loss for the Trump administration. They'll try it again.
34. Yeah. Just to be clear, the first vote or the second vote, actually. Well, they killed the first bill. 38 Republicans stood up to Trump the first time, and 34 held strong in the House and still were like, no. Because imagine being gaslit. Imagine hearing we're doing the Department of Government Efficiency and this is to cut waste. And then at the same time being gaslit by two unelected billionaires, which, by the way, I thought Vivek only had hundreds of millions of dollars. I've recently educated him. He's now valued by Forbes to have $1 billion. So just... Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't know that. But imagine being gaslit and told, hey, we're going to cut waste. And then being told at the final hour, hey, add $5 trillion to the debt. We're going to need you guys to just tack on $5 trillion. And the few real conservatives in the House are going, hey, because if you don't understand what the debt ceiling argument is about when we have to raise it, they're saying we will not raise the debt ceiling without significant cuts to the budget. We need to offset the fact that we are adding on $5 trillion in debt. That's what Republicans are about. The real ones. And Trump's just like, add $5 trillion, and then to be gaslit and them saying the first bill was 1,500 pages. This one's only 120, but the 120 page one has $5 trillion in debt.
Right. And what was the odd? You shared this last week about how someone who supports that, some elected Republican in Congress who supports that, said, we should just test it. Let's just see.
McCormick.
Yeah, that's right. McCormick.
Yeah, he's like, it'll be a great test because if we burn through $5 trillion in 2 years, then we know. And it's like, am I in a nightmare?
No, we're just in a reality show. That's all it is.
Hi, AD. Good morning.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, Felice. Isn't it a lovely day?
Morning. The best day, guys. Keep tapping the screen. Let's get to 150K for facts.
Yes, I absolutely came up here just to say that. Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were a mod. I'm just
It's okay,
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Hey, friends. Yes, I am here to say, please use your fingers for good this Happy Everything season. Happy everything to everyone. And I'm so grateful to be here to tell you all to use your fingers for good and tap that screen. And let's get to the FYP.
That could mean a lot of things, Amy.
I'm open to everything.
You're good. We don't judge.
This point. Hey now. Facts in the morning.
Use your fingers for good.
Use your fingers for good. That's always the best advice, right, Felice? Yeah. Tap that heart too, because, you love this information. For nothing else, tap it for Felice's incredible free labor that she gives all of us in her education and
Seriously.
Sources. It is Olympic level. And she is underappreciated in many ways, I believe. And I'm so grateful that you give all of the effort that you do to educate us all, Felice. And you too, Steve. But Felice is Olympic level. We can all agree.
We totally agree.
You too, Steve.
hit that share down at the bottom there. You can hit copy link, or you can share it with your friends or your frenemies or anyone, literally anyone, because we all need to hear this information, because a idiot electorate is just going to have idiot everything. So we don't want that. We want to be well informed, and this is important. Also, come join our Discord if you haven't. Felice has a Discord as well. So join both of them. Stay up when everyone goes live. Felice goes live on YouTube. Steve, we're live on, I think, are we live on YouTube today? I don't even know.
We are.
Excellent. Like we want to make sure we still have our voices and we still are around to say what we need to say, so we stay educated. So if this app does go away, which who knows, right? We want to have a backup. So join our Discord to stay updated with everything we have going on. Plus, we have a lot of fun over there, and there's discounts in the merch store, because you know that merch. Not to mention, I believe, what's our tally so far on what we raised for Brett just on T-shirts? Wasn't it over $1,000?
$882.09 so far.
Nice.
That's the exact math.
That's amazing. So if y'all want to go purchase the T-shirt that Fax was talking about, or any other merch in there, it's some really good stuff. I especially enjoy the pillowcase. Wink, wink. If you're a fan of Uncle Rusty, you'll enjoy that. So yeah, love you all, and thanks for doing this hard work, and I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Happy everything.
Later.
Bye.
Just a thank you to Sam. Love the sweater today. Thank you. Fax and Police on Mondays is the best way to start the week. Agreed. Yeah. Thank you, Joyce, as well. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you very much.
Check my email. Yeah, and I was going to say a couple of things. Someone said, oh, yeah, let me read these. Swish. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate you as well. Love a Tumblr. I'm not saying that ironically. I'm obsessed with Tumblrs. I have like 50. I have a problem. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Joyce. Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you so much for the tip. Here's what I wanted. Can I tell everyone about Steven Feinberg really quick?
Please do. Yes.
Well, and I'm just going to say this briefly, because I don't think people understand like how corrupt. And I'm just going to tell you just some facts. I'm not drawing any conclusions. And this is in today's outline in the Discord if you want and I'll tell you guys the article name. So you like, I'm not making, this is going to sound like I'm making it up, but I'm not. So Trump just finally announced, right? And here, let me pull it up. It's number 11 it's Trump picks billionaire financier for deputy defense secretary. And what's deputy defense secretary? This would be the number 2 at the Pentagon. So this is the man overseeing the military operations and everything, behind credibly accused of rape, and also possibly having an issue with,
other things.
Pete Hegseth. And his name's Steve Feinberg. This is a man, and this is not a joke. I just want to make this connection, because when I heard his name and I heard that's what his job, I was like, oh my God. So do you guys remember the journalist Jamal Khashoggi? He's no longer with us because he entered an embassy in Turkey and was disappeared, and then they found pieces of him.
Literal pieces.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that ironically, literal pieces. And then it turned out that was later attributed back to Mohammed bin, the Saudis.
That's right.
Well, just to give you an idea of who Steve Feinberg truly is. And remember when that Jamal Khashoggi stuff happened, Trump was getting all these deals from the Saudis and billions of dollars were going to Jared Kushner. In addition, I don't know if you know this, people don't know when I go on a rant about Trump's Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin, it's not just Jared Kushner that started a fund after the Trump administration. Steve Mnuchin started a fund as well. The Trump Treasury Secretary, who was largely funded by the same fund that funded Jared Kushner. So nothing to say. So, and the Saudis were enriching everyone in the Trump administration. That journalist was unalived and ended up in pieces. I mean, no one's saying there's a connection, but I will tell you that those people that did it, the Saudis, they were trained by a private security firm owned by Cerberus Capital. Who was in charge of Cerberus Capital when they were training those people to do things like that? Steven Feinberg. And if you want to look up Saudi operatives who unalived Khashoggi received paramilitary training in the U.S., that's a New York Times article. And it mentions Cerebus Capital, who is the parent company of the Arkansas-based security company Tier 1 Group, which is owned by the private equity firm Cerberus Capital Management. The company says the training included safe marksmanship and countering an attack. I mean, this is how they learned to do what they did to Jamal Khashoggi, right? There was, there's no evidence that the American officials who approved the training or Tier 1 Group executives knew that the Saudis were involved in that or were going to be involved in that crackdown inside Saudi Arabia. If you don't remember, basically what was happening was they were, MBS was pissed that journalists were reporting on doing their job and he was going to make an example out of someone. And just so you know, Cerberus Capital, who, is the parent company of Tier 1 Group, who trained those people that did that to Jamal Khashoggi, Steven Feinberg was running that show. And now he's going to be the number 2 at the Pentagon. As long as we're talking about the Musk administration and he's a billionaire, I just want to introduce you. And that's why when we're passing the biggest piece of pork our government has, the National Defense Authorization Act, you did not hear a word out of these people. Not one word, because they're all benefiting from military contracts and military largesse.
So Willow Y, I would like to address your Willow YY. I'd like to address your comment. Okay, and I'm you might want to sit down for this, friend, because your comment is this. So Musk gives Trump money and you're all mad. How about Soros? Where's your outrage there? Felice, would you like to inform our friend Willow YY who Trump's pick to be this Treasury Secretary is and what his background is? I can if you'd like, but feel free.
Mnuchin?
No. Scott Bessent.
Oh, the new one? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Steve Mnuchin was the last Treasury Secretary who he now has a fund funded by the Saudis. But
Right.
Bessent learned everything he knows at the feet of George Soros.
Wait for it, Willow YY. Wait for it. He literally is George Soros's protege, my guy.
Truly.
So
not a joke.
facts are hard. Thank you, Felice. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, and then when he left George Soros, his fund started failing miserably.
Yeah. So we talked about, again, everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Felice's pay apps are above her head. There's a gifting goal today. Hey, please help us stay on the FYP, guys. It's really, really important. So,
and just in fairness, and Cerberus Capital started training, the Saudi agents during the Obama administration, and into Trump's. But I'm just saying that's who Steven Feinberg is.
Yeah, so we talk about the deep state and we talk
Pentagon
about
contracts.
Nepotism in politics. We can have that conversation all day long, but I just want to remind Mag of a few things because again, we talk about the deep state, right? That the term that you guys love to share, but you don't even know what it means. So I'm just going to give you some names. I'm going to give you some potential positions and then relationships. Lara Trump, Florida Senate contender. She has since removed her name from contention, obviously Trump's daughter-in-law. Mossad Boulos, senior advisor on Arab and Middle Eastern affairs, Tiffany Trump's father-in-law. Charles Kushner, ambassador to France. Ivanka Trump's father-in-law, pardoned felon, by the way. Adam Bowler, special envoy for hostage affairs, Jared Kushner's college roommate. Kimberly Guilfoyle, ambassador to Greece, Trump Jr.'s ex-fiancee. Dr. Janet Neshawait, Surgeon General, Trump's NSA pic's sister-in-law. Leah Francis Campos, ambassador to the Dominican Republic, Trump transportation pic's sister-in-law. Chad Chronister, DEA administrator, has since withdrawn, son-in-law of Trump pardon recipient. So again, the complaining from the right forever, not the right because they knew what was going on, MAGA voters in particular, about the deep state, about corruption in politics. Every other word was George Soros. Now, most of you didn't know that Scott Bessent literally is George Soros's prize pupil. His protege is the hand-picked Treasury Secretary within the Musk administration. Where's your outrage? That's what I want to know. Where's your outrage?
Now, why can't you follow the line of logic? Because I agree there's corruption, right? we can see the corruption, right? And think about it. I just want you to pick. If I told you that Biden had appointed a bunch of people to his cabinet who were billionaires, who had military contracts, right? Who had conflicts of interest all over the board, we would never hear the end of it. Why can't you hold Donald Trump accountable for the same things? Why?
Willow, why? Two different people? Who? Scott Besson is two different people? No, he's
don't
the
get me
Treasury
started on that.
Secretary.
Who said that? Wait.
He's the hand-picked choice of Donald within the Musk administration to be the Treasury Secretary, and he is George Soros's protege.
You can just do basic Google search and find that out. Like, that's not something hard to do. Bunny made a great comment, and I'm going to talk about this on the People's Receipts today. That's the other thing. Like, right, this is about Trump enriching himself, forming an oligarchy, but also returning favors. That's the other one. Mark Burnett. Did you see that?
That was next. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. The Apprentice man is now, what is he going to be the ambassador of or special envoy? What was his job? It's in the outline. It's right. Hold on.
I got it right here. So I'm hearing that.
Here we go. He's a special envoy to the UK.
Yeah. And think about this for a second.
This is the guy that owns the footage.
Exactly. So the footage that we're referring to is there is apparently Trump. There's audio of Trump, audio tape or videotape during The Apprentice when it was filming. Mark Burnett was the former producer.
Season one,
exactly, where Trump said the N-word because he didn't want a black man to win the Apprentice. No way in hell I'm going to let an N-word win.
Remember Kwame?
Correct.
First season one.
Mark Burnett is the producer of that show. So don't you think it's interesting that Mark Burnett now gets a prominent position in the cabinet? Wow, I wonder why that is. Interesting, right?
It's just interesting stuff. No one's saying anything. Like, I'm just saying, the people that trained the Saudis that ended up hurting Jamal Khashoggi, that is a private firm that's owned by Service Management, right? I'm just saying, I'm not accusing anyone of everything. I'm just saying that Mark Burnett is a special envoy to the UK who was the executive producer and, was overseeing that footage of what many people have said exists, that tape that many people have said exists. I recognize you, Justice.
Hi, Justice. How are you today?
Sorry, can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me? Oh, okay. First of all, hey, Felice, how you doing?
Good.
Great. Because I know you guys were talking
Hi,
to
Justice.
Sorry, Fax, I didn't hear you. I apologize.
I'm just kidding. It's all good.
I apologize.
Your mind, man.
I actually requested when you guys started talking about George Soros, because I wanted to mention, it's like, one of his proteges is literally working for Trump now. So what's the problem? Like, I don't think they understand that we don't like Soros. He's a billionaire.
Right.
So it's like, people on the left don't like billionaires. I don't understand why they don't get that.
Amassing that amount of wealth is a crime against the people, right? When you are concentrating wealth at the top of the economy and it's not recirculating, that is a crime against us. That's what I spent the morning doing, looking at statistical analysis of wealth and income distribution from around 1980 to 2024. It's sick. It will sicken you. And I put the analyses in the Discord, or Chrissy did, because she's the best. So, but yeah, I mean.
So there. Thank you, Justice. I appreciate you being here, friend.
No problem.
You got it. Have a good day. Have a good holiday.
You too.
So Bernie, I'm not sure if you saw this, Felice, but last week he came out with a tax proposal that Bernie Sanders proposes taxing income over $1 billion at 100%. So, and again,
no one needs more than $1 billion. Like, this is crazy town.
Again, Bernie's been very consistent on this. He's not changed his tune. Medicare for all used to be considered extreme. Now is a foundational ask by the majority of Americans who believe that we should have insurance at a bare minimum, right? So literally, again, saying it out loud. This is why we need more elected progressives. This is why we need to be moving older, not to be ageist in any way, but we need to start moving people that are in their 70s out of Congress. We can have that conversation about term limits. I realize term limits are elections, but let's be real. Again, every dollar over $1 billion gets taxed at 100%. So there you go.
Which is a great idea. And to everyone that said, like, I was, it's not true that I love what they're like, if we tax billionaires, they'll leave. That's not true. The strongest the U.S. economy has ever been was when the top marginal tax rates were, around 90%, right? And the common misconception I always hear on Fox News is you're going to tax them at 90%. No, just the top percentage of their income when it reaches that bracket, right? Like what Bernie's saying is, hey, once you make over $1 billion, right, then we tax you at 1%. You can make that
100%.
billion.
Yeah, we're taking it
but
off.
then anything above $1 billion in a year, like Elon Musk, right? Well, I mean, that's probably unrealized capital gains, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about in a year, everything over $1 billion is taxed at 100%. It's not their entire, all their earnings.
Yeah. So the right, you've been convinced. And first of all, the question I want to ask, and I've yet to get anybody to answer this question. Like, what is the deep state? Like what is it? Like, we can all formulate our opinions as to what it is, but from what you guys have been told, the deep state are unelected bureaucrats. The deep state are apparently woke generals and woke Democrats in the U.S. military. Apparently, the deep state are career civil servants who do their job to keep the government running. But billionaires in cabinet positions are not the deep state. Nepotism is not the deep state.
Wake up.
People who've turned the other cheek, so to speak, are not the deep state. Favors being called in, that's not the deep state. I found this great quote. This is from the 1990s. I'll attribute this to a person named Allison Rennie. If you voted Republican because you fear socialism, then live your truth. Do not accept Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. Avoid public beaches, parks, and libraries. Do not allow your children to attend tax-supported schools or to take advantage of food programs. Drive only on toll roads. Do not call 911 unless you intend to pay for services rendered.
No, I think that's a great idea. And I think what's most important, and Willow, you're welcome to request and come up here at any point. We can have a civil, productive conversation. But I think everyone should know that even if, and I'll say this, I see MAGA, you're super loyal, right? I know you see it as like, this is my team, go down with the ship. It doesn't, while you're loyal, while you're saying, hey, I'm on this team and I'm going to remain loyal and they'll do the right thing by me, they're not. I could show you the data. The Republican Party has not done the right thing by the middle class in modern history. The wealth inequality continues to grow. So you being blindly loyal while the country is burning down is not helping. And you think, he'll punish the left, but not me. You are being punished in real time. You are being robbed by the donor class, just like we are. We are all in the same boat. You think you are enjoying some sort of privilege in society while you delusionally think that you are being robbed.
Do you think this is a biblical moment where you're going to put the lamb's blood on the doorway during Passover and
the angel of death's going to pass over, exactly. Pass over the homes with the lamb's blood in Egypt. Yeah, I mean, you are being robbed in real time, and like I keep saying, unfortunately, it's not brown people who have your money; it is the billionaires.
Yeah, it's the constant, like we've talked about this many, many times, is the constant punching down. So the problem is because you voted for this lie. I'm going to play some audio for you because I think it's really, really important. Well, before I do that, when for those of us on the left who do demand preservation of human rights, who do prioritize women's rights of the BIPOC community, indigenous rights, all those marginalized groups, LGBTQIA, everybody, the infirmed, people who are living in poverty, you voted for the degradation of those rights without even realizing it, because you bought into your reality that it's, to Felice's point, that it is brown-skinned people, that it is the LGBTQIA community that were the threats. So a byproduct of that would be if a 16-year-old wanted to adopt a child, the government wouldn't allow it. They would say she's not old enough or responsible enough. She isn't done with her education. She can't financially support herself, and she isn't a legal adult. But if she gets pregnant, the government can ban her from getting an abortion. So make that make sense. That's what you voted for. in your selfishness. That's what you voted for. I'm going to find, go ahead, please.
Well, I could say a million things. I was actually just going to quickly point out a resource. Let me just look up this resource for whoever it is in the comments that's saying Trump won by a landslide. Trump did not even win 50% of the popular vote. You do understand that not even half of America voted for Donald Trump. And I have another article that I don't think I recently cited that says this, but I'm just going to cite the one because, Trump gave this wacko. And I don't want to say this. I don't want Elon Musk to be running the government because I think he's actually far scarier than Donald Trump. And that is the truth. I think Elon Musk is far more concerning. Trump gave a speech at America Fest yesterday, rambling like the oldest president in history that he is. Like, what in the world is this? Just, I don't know if he's lying or he has no idea where he is, but that's like, he keeps alluding to the fact that he won in a landslide, which in fact he did not. I just want to look up the name of this article in case, one thing he keeps saying is like, oh, I won the youth vote by like 32 or 36 points. This is from the Intelligencer, from New York Magazine. Trump claims non-existent youth vote landslide. I would direct you to that article if you are confused about whether or not Trump won the youth vote in a landslide. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to read this. According to exit polls, he didn't win any age category of voters under the age of 50. Kamala Harris won under 30 voters, 54 to 43. He did make gains, like where I'll say he made gains with younger men, right? Yep. But there's more women than men. Yeah, and they largely voted for Kamala Harris, right? Just because Donald Trump says it, you have to go then look at exit polls, look at data and figure out, hey, is that true?
I talked about this once before about how our nation on the whole is moving more liberal, meaning that they're more responsive to the rights and the plights of others, with the exception of young men. Men under the age of 25 in particular seem to be getting more conservative as women are getting more liberal. At a slower rate, though. So the men becoming more conservative is a gradual increase, where women becoming more liberal is a steeper climb. So we talk about the potential end of humanity, the end of humankind, as women continue to choose the bear because of the red pill effect.
Well, and it tracks, think about it this way. I feel sorry for young men in this country because this is not a benefit to you, right?
Not at all.
Where did Trump make gains? And I'm saying compared to 2020, right?
Correct.
That's true, right? Like compared to what he did in 2020, Trump did better, but that's because so many states, so many demographics went blue. And then we're seeing the return of, the equalizing of the mass shift in 2020, which was huge. It's the same thing that happened in 2016 because Obama was seeing, basically dragged the country blue, right? Was dragging the country left. And then in 2016, we're seeing the correction of that. That's similar to what is happening between 2020 and 2024. Right? There is no mandate. And I said this, I'll look up the article while Ben's talking, but there's a statistical analysis of this, and pretty much any category that it looks, you would say, oh, Trump won this in a landslide, either Obama in 2008 or 2008 or 2012 or Biden in 2020. Beat him in those categories. I'm just talking data. This is not my feelings. This is just data.
Good morning, Ben. How are you today?
Fine. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. Did you vote for Trump?
I did not vote for Trump.
Okay. So who did you vote for?
I voted for Kamala and Tim Walz. I did the right thing.
I appreciate that.
Great job, Ben.
It is stunning that we see while you're here, I think I'll play this because it's really brief, and I think this is just a reminder. I'm going to play this every single day, and we all should listen to this because this is the promises that were made, promises not kept, apparently.
Affordable again. We're going to get the prices down. We have to get them down. It's too much. Groceries, cars, everything. We're going to get the prices down. But prices will come down. You just watch. They'll come down, and they'll come down fast. Not only with insurance, with everything. So tomorrow I will end inflation. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices. I will end inflation. I'll end inflation. Slash your prices. To rapidly reduce inflation, I will end inflation very quickly. End inflation. slash your prices. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices. We're going to get your prices down. And we're bringing the cost down.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's the promise, right, MAGA? That's the promise that you've been told. Ben, do you think, are you looking forward to your prices coming down?
Well, I'll be fine. I'm not really worried about the prices, but here's the thing. I mean, you're dealing with a cult. And it doesn't matter what this guy says, what Trump says, how many lies he lies, how many lies he tells. Mm-hmm. You know, you're dealing with a cult. You're dealing with unreasonable people. Mm-hmm. And you can't reason with unreasonable people. They will convince themselves that prices have come down, and they'll go on, TikTok lives and yell at the libs, just to own the libs, and create an alternate reality. So my big beef with, people on TikTok lives is they want to reason with unreasonable people, and you can't do that.
Yeah, I've given up on trying to do that. I'm only here to call it out.
Well,
I've given up. I've tried initially. I mean, I've had some really good debates with some of my mods about maybe we can reach a few, and I've just said no. If they want to, I'm not going to reach across the aisle. If they want to, put a hand out and say that I was wrong, sure, I'll have that conversation with you, no doubt about it. But you've got to prove it to me. You can't just say it. That's why I keep saying, and this is why Felice and I talk about this a lot, is that if we find common ground that this is class war, that, and the administration stacked with billionaires, people on the picket lines, in particular in Amazon, that's all demographics. That's Republican voters, independents, Democrats, non-voters, atheists, Christians, Jews, Muslims. That's everybody, because they employ so many people. Maybe something like that. Movements of unions, the Starbucks strike, Teamsters, all those kinds of things. Maybe that is finally people realizing holy shit. Meanwhile, we're all like, yeah, we've been telling you this for decades.
Right.
Our survival depends on that. That's the problem. We are all, I just describe it like we're all in the same life raft adrift, and our survival in a way depends on enough of them realizing they're being disenfranchised, not by immigrants, but by the 0.1%. Right. I mean, that's the reality we find ourselves in. And cognitive dissonance is a real thing. But I have a background, a background in advertising, right? So I have of two schools of thoughts. I was a teacher, I'm an educator and a researcher so one part of me wants to educate, right?
And you guys tap like crazy and share, please.
Absolutely. Let's get to 200K. I don't have a choice of when and what, people have an 8-minute attention span at a time. There will always be, while I'm teaching, people checking in and checking out. Also, we don't know when people will or will not come out of cognitive dissonance, but we know in high control groups, when situations become dire, when wealth inequality increases, when late stage capitalism becomes more dire, as we're watching it in real time, right? People are going to have these moments where they're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like he said, the wealth was supposed to trickle down. It's not trickling down. And so, I don't think it's necessarily my goal to engage with MAGA, but to have these conversations, to have it, like Fact said, if people want to have a discourse, I'm willing to have it. But I see myself as an educational tool. And then the other side of me came from the advertising world, which is I understand what the Republicans are doing. This is manipulation and repetition of 3-word syllables. So maybe we should just manipulate them.
I don't disagree, but I think there's cognitive dissonance on the left too.
So Ben, I'm just curious about something, because you were calling us grifters from the cheap seats.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm wondering why, though, Ben.
I didn't call either one of you a grifter.
Well,
I think that I don't know. I mean,
Well, what did you say?
Yeah. We have people that are monitored. That's kind of why I brought you up, Ben, because I want to find out is if you're being sincere.
The whole chat is saying you did.
Of course, I'm being sincere about what? I am being sincere.
Well, you said you didn't call us a grifter, but you did, right?
Well, I didn't call either one of you a grifter. I said that grifting off of a live, I just think's tacky.
Are we grifting?
I think that's no different than, what the Trump family does.
Are we grifting, Ben?
Are you trying to sell merchandise on here?
Do you know what I'm doing with the merchandise that we're selling?
I do not know.
Maybe you could have asked.
Yeah, gross.
What are you doing with it?
So I have a friend, a dear friend, and his wife who were assaulted by police officers at the outside the Uvalde County Courthouse last week. They were there for a public hearing for two officers who were neglect in their duty, and their son was murdered at Uvalde Robb Elementary School, and we're raising money for him.
Okay.
Every single dime of every single shirt that we sell in this regard goes directly to him and his family.
Why not just raise the money? Like
That's
you got
what we're
to
doing.
sell a T-shirt.
That's what we're doing.
I mean, whatever. That's fine.
Ben, you're gross. Stop. Don't die on this hill. You're gross.
You're a pathetic piece of shit. So you can get the fuck out of here.
That was very gross. Wow. And can I just speak? I need to say something just for myself really quick. Like, as a woman, please don't tell me how to survive in late stage capitalism. I do not even have bodily autonomy. The reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now and educating people this way is because in my role in corporate America, I was essayed, right? Like in an industry that was 90% male, 10% female. So please don't tell me how to tell a woman who doesn't even get to make decisions like you do about your body without fear of coercion or violence, how to make money in capitalism. Gross, Ben. Gross. The privilege, you reek of privilege.
No, sir. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I ain't doing too bad.
What's on your mind?
It was interesting. It's always interesting. I approve the message of going after the billionaires, taxing. But Bernie Sanders is worth what? 100 million? 200 million?
Not even close. How did Bernie make his money?
Well, I'm all about going after the people worth over 10 million.
How did Bernie make his money?
Ask me.
How did Bernie make his money? No, sir.
Good question. I have no clue. Let me know.
I know very well. First of all, let me give you a little history. I've worked.
I don't know. I don't mind telling you when I don't know something.
I'll tell you. I'll give you some history. I've worked on two of Bernie's campaigns. One to be reelected to the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, and also to be his first run for Congress. I consider him almost a family friend. He knows me by name. Okay. Bernie wrote books and went on speaking tours. Are you opposed to that?
No.
Okay.
No. But
so do you know that?
Is that after he was elected or?
No,
before.
He's still serving in Congress. So you're saying that he shouldn't be able to write books and go and speak?
There are laws about how you can make money. Like even Supreme Court justices can, I'm just saying for like ethical, like ways of making money, even SCOTUS justices can write books and tour and do book tours.
It's fully disclosed, not only on his ethics report, but on his tax returns. It's fully disclosed. Do you have a problem with that? No, sir.
Well, it ain't too many people worth $1 billion. I mean, come on.
He's not worth $1 billion. He's barely worth a couple million.
I'm speaking of Congress in general. Okay. The people that represent us in general. So
you're right. So how about this? Did you vote for Trump?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that he ran on, no, sir, was because, first of all, you're no longer going to be able to deny that he had no connection with Project 2025 because we'll just dunk that. We'll just move that on because he's got people in his cabinet that are directly connected to it. So we can move on past that. In Project 2025, I'm sorry, what?
I said that's fine.
Okay, cool. So in Project 2025, they talk about removing unelected bureaucrats from government. Was Elon Musk elected to anything?
Elon Musk. Well,
yeah. Was he elected to anything?
Of course not.
Was Vivek Ramaswamy elected to anything?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, so
he's not qualified to work within his cabinet? Is that what you're saying?
It's not. Yeah, that's one thing. That's part of it. But I guess the point is that if Project 2025 and the Republican agenda, not only on the RNC platform, but also in Agenda 47 and on Project 2025, all talked about removing unelected bureaucrats from government, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, Vivek Ramaswamy, also a billionaire, unelected bureaucrats now setting policy. Are you okay with that?
As far as what, overspending? I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Wait, no, you're okay.
Removing overspending, yeah. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay, overspending on what? Needed. So let's go back to my point. So Vivek Ramaswamy was unelected. Elon Musk was unelected. Were you okay when Donald Trump was talking about getting rid of bureaucrats from Washington?
Old bureaucrats, yeah, they've been around forever.
Okay, so would you say so you don't think that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are unelected bureaucrats?
No, I don't believe so.
Of course you don't. Do you see how hypocritical that is?
No, it's
You don't?
politics. It's politics.
Do you know what? Do you know how unbelievably hypocritical that is?
I don't believe it is.
You don't believe it is. So do
No.
you think billionaires in Donald Trump? I'm going to try to slow walk this for you, friend. So billionaires in Trump's cabinet with
Well, to
all
me,
kinds.
millionaires
Hold
are in
on,
the
I'm not.
same,
Hold on.
same group.
Hold on. I'm
I
not done.
don't. I don't.
I'm not
Yeah.
done talking. I'm not done talking. Billionaires in his cabinet who are now influential in setting policy. Billionaires like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy who have government contracts directly tied to overseeing government efficiency. Billionaires in cabinets setting tax policy to benefit billionaires. And you're okay with that?
I mean, benefiting them in what way? Because
Tax
you
breaks,
guys seem to be more focused on.
subsidies, tax breaks
It
and
seems like you
subsidies.
guys are running a campaign against Trump,
Government
and he already won.
contracts.
What's the point?
Because
No.
Why don't you
calling
guys?
out because
I just
the
no.
nation.
Why
Can
don't
I
you?
answer that
Why don't
question?
y'all
I want to
focus
answer
on
that
28?
question.
No, sir.
I want
No,
to
sir.
answer that question.
Chill, bro.
I'm not
Please
running
answer
a
the question, please.
campaign, right? I just want to say the truth, right? All I'm doing is going over data, right? You
The
probably
data that
feel
you approve.
late stage.
No, the data.
No, statistical analysis. Anyways, I'm not going to debate with you how math works.
That's fine.
But anyways, so statistical analysis, the fact that trickle down economics does not work since the rich have been getting richer, wealth inequality is growing. 60% of wealth in America is now inherited and untaxed. And we are just at the bottom of the economy picking up scraps. I'm just saying facts. This problem, right, is happening. And at any moment, right, I just want to talk about it and talk about the numbers because it's happening to all of us. This is in real time. We're being robbed. If you were being robbed, if your house was being robbed and I knew it, wouldn't you want me to tell you, hey, your house
Yes,
is
I'm
being
being
robbed?
robbed by people that make $1,000 a month. Why are they working for these bill collectors? They're the people that's robbing people. I'm
I'm
not
sorry. What
worried
did you
about
say? You're being
billionaires.
robbed by people who make $1,000 a month?
Every
What?
month, yeah. People get a salary. They work for these companies, these billionaire companies. Why do they do that?
Wait, can you say that again? You're getting robbed by people who are
Yes.
making $1,000 a month?
Yes, I'm being robbed because
By
they work
who?
for the people that's robbing me. Yes.
You're getting so the people that are making $1,000 a month are robbing you?
Yes.
How is that?
No,
Like
that's not
Third
how it
party
works.
seriously?
robbery.
Like,
That's what it's called.
No,
are they
no,
kicking
okay,
in your
no,
doors?
sir. They are also victims, right?
Okay, so how are you a
When
victim
the
and you
donor,
working?
I'll explain it to you. Let me just explain it. And this is the fault. This is the break in logic that MAGA has when you blame immigrants. Like, remember that little? Oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember. It was that little town in Ohio that they're like, we've been taken over by immigrant
Springfield.
labor. Springfield. Thank you.
Springfield, yeah.
Yeah, Springfield. Okay, so what was going on is MAGA is saying if we deport all of these brown workers, these immigrants who are working for pennies on the dollar and get them out of here, then wages will go up because they're gone. They're working for too little. You guys are blaming the other victims who are alongside you, right? We know that when you don't tax billionaires, do wages go up? No.
Okay, I guess what
Right?
I'm trying to
Do
say
they?
is
Do, what we need to do
the
is
people that
stop
we
Let her
deal
finish,
with.
no, sir. Let her
Yeah.
finish,
My bad. Go
please.
ahead.
Yeah,
I
so
thought
I'm
she-
just
I thought she
telling
was.
you,
My bad.
other people at the bottom of the economy alongside you who are just barely trying to eke out an existence, they are not victimizing you. We are all victims of the donor class, right?
They're not?
We are working for next to nothing. We are handing these surplus profits to the top of the economy, to the profit sharers, to the shareholders, the donor class, right? That's our wages. That's our wage increases. Those are our pensions. That's our health care, right? People alongside you living in abject poverty, looking for a way to survive are not your enemy, right? That's where our power is
I don't know
in the
about that.
collective.
But they're not
I
your.
agree, but the next person is looking for a head up.
Okay,
And they'll take
no,
advantage of
sir.
you just as
So no,
quick as
sir.
anybody else.
So remember how I just said
That's
to
all
you.
I'm trying to say.
Okay, well, this is an educational moment. Okay, just try to pay attention if you could. I'd appreciate that. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Please, Felice's pay apps are above her head. So remember how I asked you the question before? I said, do you think it's fair and just to have billionaires in cabinet positions, billionaires littered throughout the government, setting policy to benefit billionaires? And you said you thought that was okay.
No,
right?
I said millionaires, and I separate millionaires from. They're just
Okay.
trying to get to the billionaire
No
class.
problem. No
No, that's
problem.
So
fair.
why don't you cut
That's
them
fair.
off at the pass?
No problem. That's fair. What's behind me is this is the proposed tax policy for Donald Trump. So what you're looking at here, all these tax brackets, up to the 5%, up to people making above $500,000 a year, are all going to have our taxes increased.
If you're
Then-
making 28,000, you are paying more in taxes under Donald Trump's tax plan. All of
That's
us
cool.
are getting tax increases. It is not
said that's
cool
cool.
to
Why is
pay
that
more
cool?
in taxes when we're already paying more than our fair share. It is
You
not
wanna
cool.
see- So no,
And
sir.
at the
freedom
cash
ain't
register,
free.
this doesn't,
You gotta
no,
pay
listen,
for it.
no. But you know who is getting tax breaks? See those blue lines?
You see this? These are the millionaires and billionaires that are getting the tax cuts.
Well,
And
we
I'm
pay
cool
more.
with that. But why don't
You
we?
should
why
not
do
be
we
cool.
have
Okay,
these
so
Why are
people
you
wait,
in the
cool with
hold
that,
government?
my
on,
guy?
stop. Wait, now this is where the break in logic happens.
It's
You
not a break.
No, wait.
It's common
Let me
sense.
just
Why?
finish. Listen, wait.
Okay.
Don't wait. Don't listen to respond. Listen to learn what I'm saying. You should not be okay with this because statistical analysis, right? We know. I'm just looking at reports from 1980 to 2024. We know that giving the richest tax breaks, it doesn't result in our wages going up. It doesn't result in a better quality of life for us. It doesn't result in pensions. What it results in is stock buybacks, more consolidation of wealth. This will never reach us.
So this goes back to no, sir. I'm trying to understand why you're okay with your taxes going up and millionaires and billionaires taxes going down. Can you unmute your microphone, please? No, sir. Can you unmute? He left.
That's cognitive dissonance. There are medical studies on this. I just want you guys to know, like, it's not like when you are in a high control group in cognitive dissonance, your brain is literally shutting down. When you are giving information that will alienate you from the community that you believe being part of, your survival is dependent on, you have to stop listening. That's what cognitive dissonance is.
Good morning, Gina. How are you today?
I am good. Too bad no sir left. I was curious. I wanted to ask him what he thought about me not being able to get my disability because, they were going to shut the government down, or being a federal employee, and had they have shut the government down, I work healthcare. I would have had to have worked without getting paid.
He doesn't care.
I know.
Well, he needs, as long as Jeff Bezos has, a billion of coins lost in his couch, then the world is okay.
Let's just use that last interaction as an example of what we've been talking about, right? So the right for the last 4 years has complained about everything from the price for a gallon of eggs. Yes, I know it's an inside joke. Price for a gallon of eggs, the price of gas, the price of everything. By the way, home costs really started to spike under the Trump administration because of the lumber tariffs on Canada, but they don't like to talk about that. All these things that they complained about from the very beginning, they're confronted with the fact that their boy on the campaign trail lied to them, telling them that he was going to end inflation, which is fucking impossible. Doesn't how it work. And he's going to lower your prices, which is also almost impossible, because find a time in our history when prices have ever gone down for things. They don't. Gas fluctuates because it's a commodity. It's traded. Now, presented with the evidence, the lies that they were told coming back to bite them, tariffs are inflationary, tax cuts for the rich, and suddenly they are okay with it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a cult. Plain and simple. Sorry, Gina. I just wanted to get
No, you're fine. I live quite literally in the same town that Walmart's world headquarters is in. People want
Go Bentonville. I used to have to go there for advertise when I worked in advertising.
Yeah. To give you an idea, I bought my house 4 years ago. Literally, I actually signed on my house 4 years ago today. I paid $155,000 for my house. My house, now, mind you, I am glad my house is assessing for more than what I paid for it, but I have done absolutely nothing to my house, and I'm getting taxed, and it's being assessed at over $300,000. Which has doubled my house payment because of all the lovely Trump tariffs. One of my next door neighbors is selling their house. It's a 1994 house. Anybody want to take a guess what it's selling for?
500,000?
450. Yeah, 450 for a 30-year-old house. I can't boycott Walmart because really Walmart's all I've got to go grocery shop at.
I think the point, Gina, is that, the reality of people who are impacted by, governments being shut down are people like you, people like our previous guests, people that are down in the trenches, the working poor, as we like to describe it. Meanwhile, the billionaire class is just continuing to do what they're going to do. So thanks for jumping in today, Gina. I really appreciate
Thanks for having me up, Bex. Thanks for having me up, please.
Nice to meet you, Gina. Keep fighting the good fight.
I'm going to play a little audio because I don't have the video set up, but I think it's interesting and I can explain it. This basically is, thank you, AD. The gentleman did a breakdown, the graph, which explains the brain chemistry between liberals and conservatives. And he explains it. I just think it's fascinating to kind of listen to, and it kind of speaks to what we just witnessed.
Explains a ton of the differences between liberals and conservatives. Basically, this graph shows that liberals tend to have more expansive moral circles than conservatives. Now, what does this mean? Thousands of study participants were asked to indicate using this measure how much moral concern they allocated to close others, such as one's family or members of one's country, versus distant others, such as members of other countries, animals, or even plants. And basically, liberals gave moral consideration to both close others and distant others, whereas conservatives tended to focus mostly on close others. For instance, this graph shows that as you get more conservative, the less focus you put on love of all others. Similarly, this graph shows that the more conservative you get, the less you identify with all of humanity. Additionally, this graph shows that the more conservative you get, the less you care about non-human entities such as animals, plants, or the environment. This study shows that a lot of our policy debates are rooted in our deeply held moral beliefs.
There you go. George Carlin said it best. The right are selfish. They think about themselves. The left, again, we've seen this studied. I've been studying this stuff for a very long time. Conservative ideologies are about my rights, my freedoms, my individuality. Like you just said, the close circles, my family, right? You don't think beyond that. Whereas liberals, people who are open-minded, because again, being liberal just means you're open-minded, you're woke, you're aware of societal injustice, you care about your neighbor. We tend to vote for the greater good. I vote for my kids. I vote for Felice's rights to her body. I vote for marginalized communities. The right does not do that. I mean, this has been studied. So now the brain tells us exactly that. I know that when we get into the sort of the nuances of how brain functions, we lose the right because they just don't think that way. When someone stands up, when someone claims, here's the problem. You can say that you vote for your family. I've had many, many conversations with people that say, I vote for my wallet so I can provide for my family. Sure, I do the same thing, but not at the expense of marginalized groups, not at the expense of my daughter's rights to her body or a clean environment or making sure that we have universal health care. It's a selfish approach the conservatives take, and they always have. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, it's the best indoctrination of America. It's why they had to demonize the word communism. What does that mean? Communal living, right? Seeing yourself as a collective, a we. What is socialism about? What was Marx saying? Hey, like, right, we should all have a stake in this. When we're working, we're all in this together. Like, we should own our means of production. We should all be profit sharing. And to the donor class, to the billionaires who want us essentially to be next to slave labor and hand the surplus profits to them, those are fighting words, right? That's why American exceptionalism was developed, where you always hear Republicans yelling personal responsibility, right? I mean, That's where it comes from. It's the biggest lie ever told, that the collective does not matter, when we in fact know that it does.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Messica. Everybody, please keep tapping. Why is Felice only at 3,400? Let's go. Let's get her to 5,000. Let's get our likes up to 400K, please.
Oh, wait, let me read something really quick.
Sure,
MAGA loves to say Trump is playing 4D chess, but they always forget the pawns are always sacrificed first. That's a good one, Chrissy.
Wow.
Yeah, MAGA, I'm going to read it again. MAGA loves to say Trump is playing 4D chess, but they always forget the pawns are always sacrificed first. And that's what I'm trying to say to people like, no, sir. Like, you are the expendable pawn. You are not meant to survive late stage capitalism.
Well said. Messica, how are you this morning? Thanks for being here.
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I don't think I meant to hit the multi-guest button, but here I am.
Okay.
So hi.
Did you have something that you wanted to contribute to our combo?
So the earlier lady that was up here saying that our property taxes are going up and her mortgage went up due to tariffs. Property taxes do go up, home values do go up, but I'm not sure how the correlation between tariffs.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily agree with that.
I think she just tacked that on at the end. I don't think she really meant that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
because the majority of the reason your property taxes go up where you live has a lot to do with the school corporation. The school corporations will levy your taxes and buy bonds in order to maintain schools as far as maintenance and things like that. So property taxes go up, and largely in part to the school corporation.
Well, it goes up by the value of your home too.
Yeah.
Yes,
like,
it does.
That's what it goes up.
Home, but she said,
yeah, that's what she's saying. She's saying because of which this is not just a problem in Bentonville, Arkansas, but one of the main drivers of gentrification, right, happens to be corporations settling in plopping down in rural areas because it's cheap, and then bringing in executives and high paid earners. Like, it's something that happened. The Arizona housing market is underwater because of that. Because tech companies didn't want to pay the employee income taxes in California, so they started moving to places like Utah and Arizona, and now you see the complete gentrification of the housing market in Arizona. Homes that used to literally be $99,000 are now $600,000.
We can draw a line, though. I'm sorry, please.
Oh, that's it.
We can draw a line, though, tariffs impact on home prices, because, again, I mentioned this before, in 2019, the tariffs against lumber caused a massive spike.
Yeah, the construction.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was taking forever to build a home. I mean, it should take 6 months to build new construction. It was taking over a year.
Well, it depends on where you live, too. I mean, there's
in
seasonality.
Indiana.
Yeah, there's seasonality that's impacted by that. But, the whole debate regarding, property taxes, which is why you see such disparity depending on the communities that you live in, why some public schools have more than others. And then people want to do away with Department of Public Education, which sets standards, provides Pell Grants for people who want to go to college, supports IEP programs and special needs courses.
Go away. They can't cut the Department of Education. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So I think maybe that was the connection she was trying to make. But again, there's so many negative impacts. There's not one positive example of how tariffs are going to help us on a blanket scale. It's just not going to help.
Yeah, think like the cost of production in America, right? Because we don't have slave labor. So and imagine now we're going to deport. We were talking about a joint economic report came out last week that is devastating. What will happen to the construction industry? You think it takes a long time to build a home now? Deport, a large percentage of the construction workers and the cheap labor in this country. And we have a much bigger problem.
Oh,
and
sure.
I mean, and that's the interesting, what tariffs will do is the materials will cost more, right? We're going to deport the cheapest labor we have and the largest, in the construction industry. So then the cost of labor will be driven up because citizens aren't going to work for what undocumented citizens were working for. So that will only affect the housing market. And we have, no problem. And we have an inventory. Like, our problem in the housing market now is in fact an inventory crisis. So we need to build homes and build them cheaply and quickly. And Donald Trump's plans thus far, I don't see how that's going to happen. That's the problem.
Any single plan Donald Trump has proposed is going to help anyone for the better, period. none of his plans are collectively going to benefit anyone in this country, maybe besides the billionaires.
Oh, yeah,
It
the
might help them,
billionaires. They
but
will.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's
They
it.
will help consolidate wealth. And also, I mean, the point is to create wealth inequality, to keep us down, right? That's the point of the banishing the Department of Education. Who will that affect? Think about it. The disabled, black and brown people, women, right? Like, that's the thing they don't understand about affirmative action. The number one beneficiary of affirmative action is actually, and like DEI initiatives, things of that nature. It's white women.
Mm-hmm.
It's women.
Mm-hmm. It's women. It's women. Like literally, this is the first time in 20
that's the
years.
point of fascism, is to elevate the donor class.
Yeah. Fascism is my second favorite. My second favorite F word. I won't say the first one because. But yeah, no. So this is the first time in over like 2 decades that the House of Representatives, Republicans have not voted in a woman to be lead chair of any committee. And over 2 decades, like they are literally forcing women out of positions of power. Like already it's happening.
Yeah, and not even in power yet. Like we've said before, the Republican Party does not know or does not care about legislating. They would rather be chaos agents. We saw the 118th Congress, the one that we're currently in, be the most ineffective legislative body that perhaps we've ever seen, at least in modern politics. And now it's going to get worse because their margin's going to be even smaller. This is what they voted for. This is what they've got. Thanks for jumping in today, Messica. Appreciate you very much. You got it. See you later.
No, if you're wondering, what is it? Title I? Is it Title I grants like through the Department of Education that are for disabled kids? Is that for lower socioeconomic? I can't remember which ones they are, but a lot of those grants are for IEPs, and different programs that benefit children on the spectrum or disabled children in schools, things of that nature. And I was recently just reviewing, because I remember hearing it in July, and no, it didn't get any coverage because people are in such cognitive dissonance. But Trump has a nephew whose name is Fred Trump, and Fred Trump has a disabled son.
Yeah.
And came out and did an article and talked about how, at first Trump was just like, well, maybe disabled people, it's just better if they're not here, like not with us.
Exactly.
And then he escalated it and said it directly about his nephew's child. Exactly. And this is in a New York Times. Yeah, this is in a New York Times article. Look up Donald Trump's nephew, Fred Trump, and it's in a New York Times article, him stating this. So if you're wondering, like, why doesn't Trump care that like children on the spectrum or disabled children can get, the care they need to be educated? I mean, he's telling his own nephew who has a special needs son, hey, it's probably better if he's not here.
Yeah. I want to find another little bit of audio. Oh, by the way, this is great. So again, we're talking about bureaucrats in government. We're talking about the Musk administration being the deep state. I love that picture. Please, if you haven't yet, please consider gifting Felice. Her pay apps are above her head. There is a
I have one more to read, I think.
Go for
it.
There's a subscriber's goal today, please.
It is. Thank you so much, Judy. Happy holidays. Thank you for your brilliance and kindness and insight. Love you, Judy, at Brown Eyed Girl. Love you too, Judy. Thank you guys so much. Also, I have an Amazon wish list. If you feel like getting me a cute little gift, like not big on giving cash. I have in my link tree, I have an Amazon wish list of things, so, even like shampoo and conditioner and stuff like that.
So the question was asked of Elon Musk's brother. Was Elon Musk an illegal immigrant? Well, let's see what his brother has to say.
I love this clip.
I don't know if you were, but I was not legally in America, so I was illegally there.
In fact, when they did fund us, they realized that we were illegal immigrants.
Well, I mean,
yes, we were.
I'd say it's a gray area.
Yeah, yes, we were. We were illegal immigrants. We were sleeping in the office. We didn't have a car. We had one car, but the wheel kept falling off.
So just saying, just as a reminder.
And it's too bad you can't see Elon's face, because in that clip, you could tell he's just like, this is
what's
not
my
the
brother
greatest
doing,
moment.
calling me out. So the Musk administration is now being run by an illegal police and an illegal.
He's actually stealing your money, people. There is one undocumented person.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Amanda. They aren't brown, so they're safe. Funny though that they're
said, Amanda.
Funny though that for all these years, Donald Trump would rail against the birtherism movement, against Barack Obama claiming that he was born in Africa. Meanwhile, the person who's running the government was actually born in Africa, South Africa.
And I just want to say, like, it's interesting because, Trump gave this off the
This
wall.
graph explains
No problem. Trump gave this off the wall speech in Phoenix at America Fest yesterday. And one of the things he said near the end of his speech is like, I don't have to worry about Elon Musk being president because he's not he wasn't born here. Like, that's his delusional excuse. But it really does show you, like, and actually, do you want to hear a clip of Chris Christie? I'm going to play it on the People's Receipts today, 11:30 Pacific time, 2:30 Eastern. But yeah, I think, and this, like I say this, I feel like I was born to resist Donald Trump's administration because I was raised by a malignant narcissist. And like, once you understand the psychology and you can see the patterns, they repeat the same patterns all the time. And Chris Christie is someone who is intimately familiar with how Trump operates, and he nailed it. Like, you're not there for a long time when, Elon Musk will go eventually, right? Like, the question is just when, because he's not going to let him stay around. And I was just like, man, that, like, you're speaking the language of my mother. Like, my mother has no friends, right? She has pawns that are useful to her for a time, and then she eventually is going to eject them. Let me find this. Sorry. Let me just make sure. Oh, wait.
Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Let's see if we can get 400K, please. There's a gifting goal. Please consider joining our team. And please consider Felice's pay apps are above her head. And just as a last reminder, in my link tree, the link to the merch store, there's a T-shirt. We're raising money for our friends Brett and Nikki Cross. $882.09 so far. Hoping to get $1,000 in donations. By the shirt, it says the sound of children screaming has been removed. There's a lot of context to that. It has to do with an edited Fox video. The producers put a note on the screen that said, the sound of children screaming has been removed, but they kept the sound of gunfire. So there you go.
And think while you're listening to this, just think of like Donald Trump, what he does and what all narcissists do. He didn't invent this. He has pawns, like there's no friends, there's no people. He has no emotional attachments. People are useful and you're only as good as your last transaction, right? And Elon Musk did transact with Trump to the tune of 277 million. And people are speculating, how long does Musk have before Trump tires of him? And some people are saying maybe he'll make it to the midterms because Trump wants his money. There's all sorts of things, but just remember you're useful, and remember Trump's first cabinet, how they all end up under the wheels of the bus, right? Eventually. Like, it's just a matter of when and why. And Christie is nailing it and saying that's not static, right? That depends on outside forces, like when people are actually ejected.
Influence does he really have on Trump? How much is he steering what Trump's been doing?
In the beginning, I think anybody who plays this role for Trump, and you go through the last 8 years, John, and there have been...
Guys, tapping is clapping. Tap the screen while we listen.
different people who played this exact role for Trump. It's different because it's Elon Musk. But when you initially begin in that role, you have enormous influence. And he loves having you around, and he loves listening to you, and you're the best thing in the world. It will always decline. And that's what happens. And you'll see it. It will happen with Elon Musk too. I used to say this to General Kelly when he first became chief of staff. Today you're trading at 100 cents on a dollar. You will trade to zero. The only question is, how long will it take?
Yeah, he's certainly the case with Kelly. So that's the question everybody's asking. How long does Musk last? I've heard some people say he's going to be with him at least through the midterms because he's going to be such a force in funding the Republican campaigns. But how long do you think? When does this end?
It ends when Trump believes that something has gone wrong and he needs someone to blame, and Musk becomes the person to blame. And no one knows how long that will take. You know, look, our colleague Reince Priebus, it was 5 months and then he was gone. General Kelly, it was 18 months. You know, the people who sit at the very center with Trump have a shelf life, and that shelf life is influenced by outside events, as Speaker Johnson is finding out right now. Yeah. This is a guy who's done everything Trump's asked him to do. He's essentially gotten down on one knee to Trump on a regular basis. And now he had this problem this week. You watch. Trump will run from him because that's what he does.
Well said.
Well said.
Narcissists are opportunists, right? You're only as good as your last transaction, and when it becomes necessary to jettison you to save themselves, they will.
I'm going to throw a wild conspiracy by you. You ready? Okay. So there's been talk about some of the churning and burning within the Republican administration, in particular the Heritage Foundation, who's handpicked numerous operatives within the cabinet, about them not wanting Trump to be in charge, to be the figurehead, not in charge, because we know he has no power. I've heard rumblings in various spaces about an effort to impeach the president and then have him removed in the Senate. And JD Vance becomes the president based on our constitutionality, and then Elon Musk, because at that point you can appoint anybody. It doesn't need to be. It just needs to be approved by the Senate to become the vice president. It doesn't have to be elected. It just becomes appointed. So I would not be surprised if that's been in conversations somewhere at all, to give Musk more power officially as opposed to unofficially. Nothing would surprise me anymore. Nothing would surprise me.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like, as far as the Heritage Foundation, you're talking about deeply, I mean, they're formed around religion, right? Like deeply religious people. I'm not saying Elon Musk isn't deeply religious, but if you understand his history, he is a wild card. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not. JD Vance was placed there by the Heritage Foundation. Well, not by Peter Thiel, but, and very much backed. He's a Christian nationalist. I don't know. I mean,
but he doesn't, again, to be VP, you don't have to be, again, you can be appointed because you're not elected. You can be appointed to that position. Just got to be approved by the Senate. Again, wild conspiracy, but I'm just saying, should we be surprised by anything? I've talked about this before. I'd love to wake up one day and have something be precedented for a change. Everything that we see is unprecedented. Everything that we see is just, the expectation is that, Auntie Felice's wild ride will continue tomorrow because there'll be something else that's completely unprecedented.
I have a joke. Someone gave me a tip. Thanks, Mark, by the way. Merry Christmas. And he said, what music does Santa listen to?
What?
Rap music, like WRAP.
Wow. That's like...
I like bad jokes. They're the best.
That's a dad joke and a half.
Yes,
this is a little audio. We were talking about Bernie earlier. This is an interview that Bill Gates did recently, and I think it's interesting.
The ultra wealthy should be paying more in taxes.
We should pay more. If I was in charge of the tax system, I would have paid a lot more in taxes. I'd have about a third as much money as I have. Now, Bernie would go further. He would basically say that you can never be a billionaire, that at that point, the government's going to take away 100%. And I'd be worried that, the distortions and the disincentive would go too far. Maybe I'm biased, but I would collect a lot more from people like myself in order to reduce the deficit and have a more generous safety net. And I'm also a big believer in the estate tax. Actually, my dad, who's deceased, and I did a lot of work saying, hey, this is how you prevent dynasties and encourage people to do more philanthropy. If you have slightly higher taxes, but you let people do philanthropy, that's really great.
Yeah.
It's a good example, right? Somebody who kind of gets it. But yes, he's biased.
Yeah, like I was saying, 60% of wealth in the U.S. is now inherited. Right? And this is untaxed wealth, right? Moving through trusts, moving through, unrealized capital gains. Like that, that's the reality. So when you talk about estate tax, I completely agree. It's like you can do something good for some people or you can give it to the government. You can decide, right? Thank you so much, Josie. You're the best.
Don, I just sent you an invite. Would you mind coming up and talk to us? Because you said this is a joke, and I'm just curious. I'm just wondering what you think is a joke about this. Look, this is real, ladies and gentlemen. This is, can you put your tribalism aside and just understand that this is exactly what we've been telling you for such a long time, that it's the billionaire class that has to come out to get you, that is out to get you.
This is nonpartisan.
Exactly. This is nonpartisan. So, the energy and the attention that was paid on Luigi, again, I'll stand here and just say that I do not support vigilante justice. That's just not something that I support, because if you support it for one side, then you have to support it for the other. Kyle Rittenhouse, for example, I do not support vigilante justice. With that being said, it did really shine a bright light on what we've been talking about how, in particular, in our nation where we spend, it'll be $6 trillion inside of 3 years on healthcare in our country, with that industry recording nearly $1 trillion in profits. We are 42nd in outcome, number one in cost. We have in developed nations, we're near the bottom in child poverty. We're near the bottom in maternal mortality, in infant mortality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This affects all of us. So we now have the billionaire class. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but a billionaire class setting policy to benefit billionaires. Again, the proposed Trump tax plan taxes everybody below $400,000 a year. Conversely, Kamala Harris's tax plan was the opposite. Give everybody below 400K a tax break, and then you tax the rich. This is the reality. This affects all of us. This is not tribal. This should not be. This should not be anything other than people realizing that it's not the brown people. It's not women. It's not drag queens. Not the LGBTQIA community. It's not us. It's not the woke liberal Democrats. It's not guys who paint their fingernails. It's the corporations at the top. It's the billionaires. It's the people in power. It's always been them. It has always been them. The people that you've been complaining about, the bureaucrats in Washington, we can all agree. Yeah, it's the billionaire class, influence, money. And again, that quote from Elon Musk, I got to find it again because I think it is so perfectly relevant. Wait, where is it? It's right here.
He said, there's a quote from Elon Musk where he basically implies corporations that do violence, that's their job because they owe the shareholders profits, that's, hey, they have to, if they're responsible for people unaliving, that's their job. They don't owe things to the American people. They owe money to the shareholders. It's their fiduciary responsibility. So if some people unalive or some people are hurt, right? You always hear MAGA yelling about the opioid crisis. Well, why don't you hold the Sackler family, the owners of Purdue Pharma, accountable for it?
Everybody,
those were American billionaires. Are they in jail for addicting everyone to that stuff? No.
If you'd like to make the argument,
they are the dealers. If you're a billionaire dealer,
true,
you're good.
It's true.
If you're just a guy trying to survive in capitalism, you're not good. If you're the mass distributor of opiates, if you're a billionaire who lobbies the U.S. government, that's fine.
That's exactly right. We have 40 plus years of evidence that trickle down economics doesn't work. It's never worked, will never work. It's a lie that's been told, just like the pro-life movement is the biggest lie that's ever been told to us. It's just nonsense. We have billionaires in government implementing policies, proposing policies to benefit billionaires. Meanwhile, on X, Elon Musk says this: with Trump appointing me and other billionaires to his cabinet, I keep hearing the term oligarchy thrown around. Do people not realize that politicians are already beholden to the ultra wealthy, that they have been for decades? Why insist on keeping the middleman? That is a direct reference to Congress. We don't need them. We'll just give the billionaires the keys to the car, and we'll tell everybody what to do. We'll grape the entire system. There'll be no more social safety net. There'll be no protections for marginalized groups, depending on who the billionaire is in charge this particular day, whatever their whim is. That is the reality. Everybody should be saying eat the rich. Everybody should be. It's not that I'm anti-capitalist. And I'm not a true capitalist anymore. I'm more of a democratic socialist, progressive. I have no issues with people working hard and earning money. That's not the issue. Marginalized tax rates, the boom of the middle class happened when corporate tax rates in the 60s and 70s were 55, 56, 57%. Ever since Reagan, because his corporate donors and the evangelical Christians led by the Heritage Foundation said, you know what? Women are starting to get a stronger voice in society. Those brown-skinned people, they're starting to get a stronger voice. You know what we'd like to do? We'd like to put our foot back on their heads. So give us a tax break, and we'll tell them that it will trickle down to them. And they're all like, sounds great. And ever since then, we've seen the wealth gap get wider and wider and wider and wider at the expense of social programs. Happens every other day. Like I've told you guys a million times, overfund public education. Tax the fucking rich. And then do it again. Everybody, every single American who cares about our system of government should be in lockstep. We've heard billionaires even say it. Bill Gates said, yeah, I should be paying more. Mark Cuban, yeah, I should be paying more. They get it. Why don't you?
And just know, I think, and all of this connects. Like, the more research you do, the more you understand, and don't just listen to people who are robbing you talk, right? The number one driver of crime is poverty.
Exactly.
Right? The wealth inequality, it's 60 years now since 1980, 65 years, we've seen the wealth gap, wealth inequality, the gap widen and widen and widen. Why was there a spike in crime in 2020? Because of the pandemic, because of poverty.
Correct.
As we corrected the economy, crime went down. So when they're telling you, oh, we have all this crime and it's brown people. No, there's no statistical correlation between immigration and crime. There is one between poverty and crime. And it is the billionaire class who are stealing from us and driving us into poverty. Don't listen to Fox News when they're like, brown people are committing crimes. No, we are being robbed by the donor class. They are increasing poverty, which thereby increases crime. We know that.
Part of a line entry on P&Ls for the health insurance industry is claim denials. They base their revenue on the percentage of claims that they deny. So if that's not blatant theft that leads to death in many cases, then I don't know what is. Somebody just asked. Yes, by the way, in case you're just tuning in, again, thank you all for being here today. We appreciate that. We know you have many choices to make in the morning. It's always special on Mondays because Felice gets to join us. Please show her your love and your gratitude by gifting the hell out of her. Her Cash Apps and Venmo and PayPal, Venmo and Cash App are above her head. So please, you guys know what to do. So in case you hadn't heard, the House Ethics Report did find evidence that Matt Gaetz paid thousands for sex and drugs, including paying a 17-year-old for such in 2017. The Ethics Committee said that Gaetz paid tens of thousands of dollars to women for relations and or illicits on at least 20 separate occasions, including paying a 17-year-old girl for such in 2017. Quote, the committee determined there was substantial evidence that Representative Gaetz violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory rape, illicit drug use, impermissible gifts, special favors or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. That person was nominated by Donald Trump, who, by the way, has a history of the exact same things, to be the Attorney General of the United States. But tell us again, MAGA, tell us again that that's okay.
No, and last night, just to be clear, or I say yesterday, Charlie Kirk was hosting America Fest, a Turning Point USA conference all weekend in Phoenix, where I am. And Trump gave a speech last night, and it's not that Trump's trying to distance himself. He went out of his way during the speech to be like, where's Matt Gaetz? He has such a bright future. Hi, Matt Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz gave a speech and is like, I'm thinking of running for Marco Rubio's Senate seat. And maybe they'll elect him. Because if there's one thing I'm sure of, I don't know if you're aware of this facts, because Danielle, I do the broadcast on Tuesdays, which is Dr. Danielle. We talk about how conservative policy is affecting women in America at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. And I don't know if you saw what Greg Abbott is up to. Greg Abbott is spending millions of dollars on billboards in Mexico, basically telling people, hey, if you come here, you're going to get raped on the way. And that's on you. Basically, like, some of them are here. Let me just give you some examples of what they say. Like, this is literally blaming the victims. Does it say, hey, you shouldn't be graping women, right? Hey, traffickers, you shouldn't be graping women. No, it literally gaslights and blames the women. Here, I have a screenshot of this. Here we go. Some of the billboards have stark warnings, including, how much did you pay to have your daughter raped? This is the second one. Many girls who tried to migrate to Texas are kidnapped. Your wife and daughter will pay for the trip with their bodies. Instead of saying, what would be effective? Holding the actual aggressors accountable and saying, hey, you grape someone, right? There's a punishment for that and you will regret it. Instead of literally gaslighting victims. Imagine, and I said this, please understand what's happening. This is when we say root causes of immigration, right? Of mass immigration around the world. This is what you have to understand. One is climate crisis, but the main one's poverty. Right? When the U.S., you can look what the CIA has done to countries south of here. We sanction them within an inch of their lives. We turn off their economies. We drive them into poverty. We do coups. We do all sorts of things, right? We steal their natural, we have our American corporations come in and steal their natural resources and exploit them for slave labor. We drive them into poverty, right? Crime goes up in their home states. It's not like they're safe there, Greg Abbott. They could just stay where they are. They're making a run for their lives, knowing I probably won't even make it there alive. But if I stay here with my kids, they're sure to unalive here. So I've got to risk it. So you literally take the risk, right? And make this journey. And Greg Abbott with billboard campaigns gaslights you the entire way and accuses you of it being your fault.
I'm glad you said that because it reminded me of something that Greg Abbott said regarding the fetal heartbeat law in Texas. So let's just listen to what he has to say.
It doesn't require that at all because obviously it provides at least 6 weeks for a person to be able to get an abortion. Goal number 1 in the state of Texas is to eliminate rape so that no woman, no person will be a victim of rape.
So goal number 1 is to eliminate something after it's already happened. Texas. To eliminate something that's already happened. What was the movie with Tom Cruise? The prefabs, right? They can see the future.
No, Minority Report, precogs.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's what I say. We're not precogs. We can never reduce instances of crime to 0 unless you're a precog. You can see it coming.
So again, to your, and this is related. It popped into my head when you brought that up about how the rhetoric, the victim blaming that we see from the evangelical right, that it's women's fault that these things happen. Meanwhile, the billionaires are ripping you off. That's minorities' fault that they're the ones that are committing crime. Meanwhile, it's the billionaires that are committing crime that are ending life. It's the woke community. It's the LGBTQIA. It's women in sports where it's like, I've got some awesome audio to play, but this is the reality that we've been trying to tell you for so long. Your energy is focused in the wrong direction. You punch down constantly. It's so easier to do that because then you can feel like you have power. United behind the fact that we've got the deep state, the billionaire class that is laughing at us every single day.
No, then think about this. Like, here's this is just another, because I like what you're doing. Let me give you another example of circular logic in the South, right? Think about this. There's a report that just came out and we went over it on the broadcast. It's called Pregnancy as a Crime, right? It is one of the most disturbing things you'll ever read in your life. And it's about criminalizing pregnancy in the different ways and that they put women in jail basically for pregnancy. And one of them is for not seeking prenatal care. Now imagine, right? The southern state conservatives in the South, most conservative states in the South have denied Medicaid expansion, right? Federal Medicaid expansion. They have created these strict AB laws. So OBGYNs have fled in droves. Like we did a piece on the broadcast like 2 Tuesdays ago about how it is over an hour's drive in rural Texas. I'm not talking about to give birth. I'm talking about to get an ultrasound, to see anybody who will acknowledge that you're pregnant. They have made it nearly impossible for poor women, particularly poor brown women, right, to seek brown and black women in Texas to get care in rural areas and then charge them with the crime of not seeking prenatal care. Like, I don't know what we could do at this point. Like,
well, and again, and I think calling this rhetoric out is extremely important because this is the reality of the circumstance that the right likes to claim that they're defending women's rights, whether it be a Title IX issue or trans athletes in sports. So Charlie Baker, former governor of Massachusetts, is the director of the NCAA. And he appeared recently in front of Dick Durbin.
What's his name?
Charlie Baker.
Charlie Baker. Okay.
Yep. And he is the chairman of the president or CEO of the NCAA. And he appeared at a Senate hearing, and he's being questioned by Dick Durbin about, because again, the Democrats attempting to push back against some of this hateful targeted rhetoric against the LGBTQI community and trans athletes in general. So I'd just like you to listen a little bit as to what he has to say about, the impact from the supposed impact of trans athletes in sports.
How many athletes are there in the United States in NCAA schools?
510,000.
How many transgender athletes are you aware of?
Less than 10.
Less than 10 out of 510,000?
Yep.
Are you governed when it comes to policy of the NCAA by state law?
Of course.
So if 25 of the 50 states currently say that transgender children can play in sports according to their gender identity, you're bound by that standard?
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to say on this subject?
I think part of our challenge is dealing with a very murky set of court decisions and at the state and federal level around this issue, which creates a certain lack of clarity around our policy, because our policy ultimately needs to comply with federal policy. Which is why guidance either on the regulatory side or on the statutory side would be very helpful.
510,000 athletes, 10 transgender athletes nationwide.
Or
510,000 NCAA athletes, collegiate level, 10 transgender athletes.
And while we argue about this, we're all being robbed.
Exactly. What's the point again?
The wealth of 169 countries is concentrated in Donald Trump's cabinet. And they all have conflicts of interest with government contracts and things of that nature. But we're talking about, persecuting 10 NCAA athletes when there's 500,000.
Or the first elected trans woman to Congress and Nancy Mason or Bullhorn running around. This is again, the distraction's the point. This is exactly the point. This is why first of all, it's not the only reason why they have hate in their hearts. They're bigots and they're transphobes and they're racists and they're sexists and they're misogynists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Toxic masculine, fascist, the whole nine yards. But they use that. They use those demeaning talking points to fire up their base. So Donald Trump used his voters. He and the people behind him, the puppet masters, the billionaire class. Elon Musk bought the presidency with $270 million that we know of. He bought the presidency and used Donald Trump's hateful rhetoric to go after these communities to make his voters think that this was an issue. Let's think about the conversation we've had. I know you've talked to hundreds of people, Felice. I've talked to hundreds of people. I spend time in right-wing lives, so you don't have to. You're welcome. They still talk about it. They still talk about the crime of the illegals coming across the border. Well, we know the data says, nope, they just don't commit crime like we do. They talk about the trans issues. I don't want my daughter in a bathroom. They talk about Title IX. 510,000 NCAA athletes, 10 identify as trans. 10.
And think about it. If you care about children, right? Why won't Republicans hold these pastors accountable who are hurting children? Why don't they hold the Catholic Church accountable? There we have statistical correlations, right? Disproportionate amounts of children in some way being victimized. But they won't acknowledge that. Do you know what that's what blows my mind. Or Greg Abbott with these billboards all around Texas saying, you're going to be victimized if you try to come to America. Well, what they should say is 1 in 3 American women are victimized, are essayed in this country. It's a little game we like to play called 1 in 3. It happened to me more than once. So I just that's the mind blowing thing. If they cared about it, if they cared about children, if they cared about women, they would legislate accordingly. They do not care about women or children. So miss me with the BS. I don't have the rights to make decisions about my body without coercion or violence. That's the situation we're in. But we have when it comes to, when it's a talking point, right? Like trans athletes, that is a winning. They spent $70 million on ads or something, or $200 million on ads.
Yeah.
Kamala is for they, them. Trump is for you. Correct. I will never forget that. I live in a swing state. It was nonstop. It is not, there's no statistical correlation. That's not an issue, right? Yeah. That's not a real issue, right? 1 in 3 women who are citizens in America being SA'd, that's a real issue. Do Republicans care to do anything about it? Absolutely not.
Greg Abbott now has his campaign saying that you're likely to get graped when you come to Texas, but he told his voters that he was going to eliminate grape in Texas. So again, it's part of the big distraction. It's part of the lie. I've read the March for Life campaign about how Republican voters, conservative Christians don't care about life. They care about the fetus. They want to control women. They want to tell women what to do. Be a traitor to the patriarchy. Just be a traitor. Be a traitor to the patriarchy. Do it again. Again, what I see when I go to these right-wing spaces is obviously I expect it from men, but to see women in there advocating for it or not standing up against it. We've talked about this before. Toxic masculinity is obviously harmful to women, but it's extremely harmful to men too. Because, the examples that are being set by people with these powerful voices on the right, whether it be Andrew Tate or Logan and Jake Paul or Ben Shapiro or Nick Fuentes or Charlie Kirk, all these horrible, despicable, disgusting men who at every chance they get will say something degrading about women, all the Christian nationalists out there, the Jordan Petersons of the world, the Joe Rogans of the world, all these despicable people who say these horrible things about women. Women don't stand up to it. Many, on the right in particular, because of the cult speak, because of their proximity to power. Like we've talked about this before, right? Preservation of their whiteness. They didn't necessarily vote against their best interest. They vote to preserve their whiteness. They voted to preserve their place on the ladder. So,
and that's the reality. If you care about women, do something about femicide in the U.S. Like Danielle was saying, in Puerto Rico, like she was there to do research as a doctor about femicide, or when the levels were the same, the rate of femicide that it is now in the U.S., they declared a national emergency in the UK. We don't even we don't acknowledge femicide as a crime, women being victimized simply because of their gender. So when Greg Abbott does this stuff to try to act like, oh, we care, or they start talking about, these isolated incidences that are horrible of women being victimized or unalived by immigrants, I am more likely to be victimized or unalived by an American citizen that is a white male. Like, why don't we talk about that? If you care about women, look where there's statistical correlations, and that's where we concentrate tax dollars to try to lower the instances of crime. But we don't do that because it's not really about helping women and children.
Never has been. Fun fact, during the not a fun fact, a disturbing fact, during the negotiations last week, when, of course, removing hundreds of millions of dollars from funding for cancer research, making cuts to Social Security and welfare and Medicare, Medicaid, Elon Musk is in talks to decide how much to cut the average $1,200 per month Social Security check. Fun fact number 2, Elon makes $1,200 every 4 seconds. Who's the enemy?
And we're grifters. Like, I cannot make it make sense, MAGA.
Yep. Who's the enemy again? Good morning, Peach. How are you today? You're on mute, friend. Steel Peach. Are you there? There you go. Hi there.
Did I get on? Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Felice. I just wanted to. I think you and I, Steve, are Gen X.
Damn straight we are.
Yeah. So I just wanted to take a walk down memory lane, and I think
okay.
I think you can remember this because I think that we have generations that are being conditioned to believe that they are supposed to deserve less. And this may be anecdotal, but I'll talk about a specific corporation that both my parents worked for. And you remember Bell South, don't you, Steve?
I sure do.
Yes. So that was the big phone company. And remember, they made them break up because
Yeah,
they didn't
Ma
want
Bell
them.
had to be broken up into
They
all
had to
little.
be.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And can you imagine working for a company that matched you dollar for dollar with where you saved in your 401k? Can you imagine a company that actually did profit sharing with its employees every year? Can you imagine a company that by the time their employees were ready to retire, that some of them made over 500, retired with over $500,000, some of them a million? Can you imagine that there was actually a company that it treated their employees like they helped them make money? And I'm sure I keep using the word imagination because we are now being conditioned to believe that's impossible for us. But there was a whole generation that benefited from their employers, and their employers compensated them properly. And now we are led to believe that these goblins at the tops of these corporations are due their just, and they may give us something. But it's sad to me that I see comments sometimes that say people are sheep, and they only contributed to a certain side. When I'm with you all, there is no side but us and them. My mother was in the hospital earlier this year, and it's been a long time since I had somebody in the hospital. And so therefore, I had to pay to park at the hospital to go see my mother who was sick. And I just said to myself, who would lay in their bed at night and come up with the idea to charge for parking to go see your loved ones? And yet we are on here fighting for our lives to get other people to understand that all of us are being taken advantage of. And what you have now sitting at the highest seats in the land are the very people who are harming all of us. And we better wake up, because this does not have to be. History says it does not have to be, because we had a generation that came in with their gobble, gobble, gobble Pac-Man cells and decided that they needed more and more and more and more. And that's how we got these billionaires. None of us that work for a living should be scraping to get by while they
Get rich.
gobble up everything in sight.
Peach, you just hit the nail right on the proverbial head, friend. Absolutely nailed it. Think about just think about that for a second. The fact that we have to pay to park at the hospital when we don't have health care in our country. The reality of just that alone. And here's the problem. We as a society have just accepted it. We've just accepted it. We've become part of the machine ourselves. And like we say this, activism is necessary. Whether I don't know what that looks like. And I think, as more and more we start talking about this, do we just not show up to work? Do people just not go? How do you impact a billionaire? You just take money away from them. You got to hit them in the wallet, because that's the only thing they give a shit about.
Yeah, it's about the general strike. You can look up general U.S. strike, right? Yeah. There's like estimates about mass, like the amount of people we need to strike at the same time across the U.S. But yeah, that's our only power. Our only power is to stop working as a collective and to stop consuming, right? But it's both those in conjunction. That is how the only way. Because of the American military complex, with which all these billionaires have a stake in and are fueling, right? We there's not going to be any J6. We saw them. We saw, you know what I mean? That's not reality. Like, we stop working and we stop consuming at the same time, and we grind the American economy to a halt.
It's a small example. So Vail Corporation purchased Stone Mountain Resort, which is not far from where I live in Vermont. Okay. So they now employees who are oftentimes seasonal employees employed by locals, Vermonters do the job, snowmakers, lift attendants, cafeteria workers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, have to pay to park there. Meanwhile, they're making an hourly wage of $20 an hour.
Wow.
So it's like you basically, you work to get your pass, which is part of the deal. That's the given, but you have to pay to park. You have to pay to park at a hospital to go visit your loved ones who most likely don't have insurance. You're going to get stuck with a bill. Do you guys get it yet? Do you understand?
Steve, do you remember the movie Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino in it?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves. Yep.
I was 24 years old when I seen that. And it has always impacted me because it spoke to exactly what's going on.
Yep.
You have these bags of flesh running around here telling lies and condition. You remember how they tried to condition Keanu Reeves into doing demonic, devil's work.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now. People are being conditioned. Oh, don't pay it. Oh, wait a minute. I just seen somebody get murdered. Oh, don't pay no attention to that. Don't pay no attention. Come over here and have this pancake. Have this delightful dish. Don't pay no attention to what we're doing over here in the corner.
Yeah.
And that's us as the American people. And I think it's on Gen X, Steve. We have got to start speaking out and speaking louder, because in my mind, there's a new generation that's trying to go to Congress, right? And we have to protect them from these billionaires, from these people getting up in there and influencing them to do the wrong things. I think that they are young and they want to go and make a difference. But we are down here fighting each other.
So well said, Peach. I really appreciate that. You hit every button today. Thank you for being here as always. And I love your wisdom. We've had great conversations. Gen X forever. Again, we always joke about Gen X being raised by neglect and hose water, but it's so true. It is so true. Peach, thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.
Have a great Christmas.
I followed you. You're amazing. Nice to meet you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
You too, friend. I mean, those are just the stark realities. And a lot of it is just the fact that we've just come to accept it. And I think part of the push from the right forever is exhaustion. Just wear us down so people won't resist, right? So people won't fight back. It's nothing new. I mean, I know you've been tracking this as a history buff, Felice, and I have too. And we've seen the rise in power and influence in Washington simultaneously as the wealth gap has increased. It's not a coincidence. It's just not a coincidence these things happen. They're all related.
Well, and you know what else is disturbing that we haven't touched on with like the Musk administration is like, sure, Trump might technically be the president, but like what I heard was a guy who's rambling almost incoherently is going to be the oldest president in history, right? And do you know what Elon Musk is up to? Elon Musk is endorsing the far right party in Germany, in Italy, and in the UK. And if he can find, and people are speculating, right? I'm just telling you what they're talking about in Europe. If he can find a way, because what has Elon Musk learned? Think about it. He invested $277 million in American elections.
Yep.
And he yielded, right? He made about $200 billion.
He's worth
already that's what he's made now. So if he can find a way to legally make those investments,
if you guys wouldn't mind, thank you.
Yeah, if he can make those investments in Germany, make those investments in the UK, and amass the same amount of power and influence in other countries, the same investments in Italy, right? And then he does Trump, right? Like if he can hold this position in other wealthy, developed countries, like around the G7, right? I mean, think about what he's doing. This is the blueprint Now I'm going to go try to do this in other countries.
Wants to eliminate left-leaning voices, wants to eliminate liberal voices, wants to take, I mean, he has the power. He's the richest person in the world. He has the power. Money is not going to be an object.
Let me give you guys a article. This is an NBC News article from yesterday, I believe, and it's called Elon Musk Courts Europe Surging Far Right. Musk has thrown his support behind far right politicians in the UK, Italy, and Germany, where the leader of the ADF party has evoked, schmutzy rhetoric, right? I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, he's realized, I mean, let's just say as a businessman, he's realized the value of what he did in the American election and is now going to go try to duplicate that by the rise of authoritarian governments across Europe. If that doesn't scare you, if you can't see the pattern, and he would be a bad business person to not try to replicate this for his shareholders. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, he has, I mean, I've read enough interviews with him. He wants to be the first trillionaire. That's part of it. He sees the investment. His wealth doubled basically because of his investment in American politics. This is what we are talking about. And you mentioned something earlier, and I want to thank you.
Oh, real quick, Josie, my Amazon wish list is in my link tree. It's not on my profile. Like there's a link tree link, and you click on that, and then it has other links to things. It's in there. Sorry, someone was asking
okay.
me in the comments.
I want to thank Amy Don because you mentioned something. You talked about Trump being a malignant narcissist. Well, because of what the work she does, she broke this down. So, malignant narcissist is someone who exhibits an extreme. Just listen to how we described this, and then you compare this to Trump. And actually, it's not just Trump. Elon's a malignant narcissist too. Let's be real. Someone who exhibits a combination of traits from narcissism, antisocial behavior, paranoia, sadism, and here are some other key criteria: grandiosity, and a need for admiration. They have an inflated sense of self-importance, crave constant praise and attention, believe they are superior to others and deserve special treatment. Lack of empathy, cannot or will not consider other people's feelings or needs, may exploit others without guilt or remorse. Manipulativeness and deceit, skilled at lying, manipulating, and using others to get what they want, often charming on the surface, but use it as a tool for control. Aggression and sadism, enjoy hurting or humiliating others even when unnecessary, may be verbally, emotionally, or physically abusive. Paranoia, have a strong sense of distrust and believe others are out to get them. Often misinterpret neutral or positive actions as threats. Vindictiveness, hold grudges and seek revenge against anyone who challenges or criticizes them, can be extremely ruthless and retaliatory. Antisocial behavior, disregard rules, laws, and societal norms, often lack a conscience and don't feel guilt or for harmful actions. Control and power hunger, obsessively try to dominate or control others to maintain a sense of superiority, see relationships as a way to gain power rather than as mutual connections. And an important note, malignant narcissists are different from people with regular narcissistic traits. They take their behavior to a dangerous level, often causing significant harm to others emotionally, mentally, or even physically. If someone exhibits these traits, it's essential to set firm boundaries and seek support if affected by their behavior. That list is Donald Trump. Every single category. Everyone. He's the victim. He plays the victim. And this is what MAGA voted for. And now they have the Musk administration because he has no political power whatsoever. None. He lost it. Last week was an example. Last week, what we witnessed was the end of Donald Trump's political influence. Because
I found pictures on Instagram. You know what he was doing on Friday when all that chaos was unfolding? Golfing.
With a mullet? Yeah.
Yeah. God. Don't even get me started on that. What in God's name is going on? I don't know what's happening. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, no, he was golfing. Like this is
mods.
The world's melting down. He's golfing.
Can you guys find me that picture? I think it's Trump in a white shirt. I can't find it.
I have the clip of him when he's like, someone get Nancy.
Yeah. Well, there's a picture.
God.
My mouth's are fine. There's a picture. He's got a white shirt on. You can see his hair. Yeah.
No, it's the picture is a screenshot from this clip on the internet of him.
Crazy.
Do you want me to screenshot it for you and give it to you?
Sure. Yeah, if you don't mind, or if you want to, I'll be happy to bring it up because I just listen. All bets are off. From a shame perspective, this is who he's become, and we're gonna hold people accountable. Anyway, the topic here today, and I want to thank Felice for all the work that she continues to do on this kind of stuff. Is the hope is at some point it will break through. Yeah, here you go. This is. Let me see. That's not the best picture. I'll find a good one and I'll use him for my background tomorrow. He just looks, he's the oldest person to ever be inaugurated into the presidency. He is a malignant narcissist. He is weak. He is feeble. He is diminished. He is losing his mind. And because of what you voted for, you've now allowed the Musk administration to take away veterans benefits, health care, women's rights to their body, millions of dollars in cancer research, more tax cuts for the rich at the expense of the middle class, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, Dick Foot, we're talking about the guy that you voted for. Please come up and talk to us because you have no clue either. But I'd be happy to have a conversation with you.
You're gonna die. Wait, look at the screenshot I just took from the video.
Yeah. So hold on, let me do this.
And this is real. This is just from a clip where he's like yelling, like, "Where's Nancy?" Like, has no idea. I'm gonna play it on the people's.
There you go. Look at him. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
And like something like the hair is gone from the side of his head too. Yeah, is like the whatever.
215, right, Felice?
Yeah, no, he's a fine specimen. All of those AI memes make perfect sense.
That's your guy. And yes, somebody said, "Are you mocking the president-elect of the United States?" Yes, I am. I am mocking him unmercilessly, and I will continue to do it to remind you that you voted for this. A malignant narcissist, rapist, convicted felon, and you voted for him because of your own selfishness. You voted for him because of your own empty, hollow lives. You voted for him because of a lie that he told you. And now you've got billionaires running our government that continue to want to take away Felice's rights to her body, my daughter's rights to her body, remove protections for the LGBTQIA community, remove protections for every marginalized group, eliminate Pell Grants for kids who want to go to college, eliminate the Department of Education, fuck the water, fuck the air, fuck environmental protections, fuck Social Security, fuck Medicare, fuck Medicaid, but the immigrants, but those drag shows, but those 9 or 10 trans athletes out of 510,000 in American collegiate athletics. Yeah, that's right. That's what you voted for.
So funny. No, but this is the thing. Like someone said, someone in the comments, I'm assuming because you said it, like someone said, "Are you mocking the president-elect?" Like, yeah. Here's the thing. Like with MAGA, you guys are cognitive dissonance, or in a way, I see it as very similar to addiction, right? Like you guys won't be reasoned with. You spent 4 years trashing Joe Biden, mocking him relentlessly, making fun of his looks. You cannot follow a line of logic and hold yourself accountable or say, "Hey, it would be very hypocritical of me to make this statement right now." After literally, one of the things I like most about Trump is his cruelty, is that he goes on stage and endlessly is cruel, not to Republicans, to Democrats, to whoever he feels like demonstrating cruelty to. It's like, I mean, of course we're like, why should we not point out the obvious, that it's delusional for Trump to make fun of women's looks, to call women ugly, unattractive. It's very hypocritical. We can point out that this makes no sense, that you guys are making AI memes of him.
So Dick Foot in the chat says, "But he can still out golf everyone in this chat." That's really clever, Dick. That's really, really clever. You probably think that that's a win. See, the problem is, Dick, is that you're the one that's going to suffer the most, Dick, because as you're in your role as assistant to the assistant manager at the Waffle House, you're the one who's going to lose your job first, Dick. But thanks for playing, Dick. Appreciate you very much. All right. Again, everybody, we're at 10:55 here. We're hovering around 360. We should be at 500K likes. We'd really appreciate that. Please continue to share. Please consider to gift Felice. We need 2 more subs for our sub wave. And as another reminder, we are raising money for our friends Nikki and Brett Cross. I just want to show the picture of the shirt one more time. This shirt is featured in my merch store. It says the sound of children screaming has been removed. It has to do with the Uvalde Robb Elementary School shooting where they lost their son, Uzziah. And Brett and Nikki were assaulted last week as they were attending a pretrial hearing for 2 officers who were involved that day. They were assaulted. The video is in the link tree. It's the first one you'll see. That shirt is the first one you'll see in my merch store if you go there. Any and all proceeds from the profit of the sale of these shirts will go directly to them, to either Brett and Nikki directly or to their charity, riseforyou.net. That's also listed in my link tree. As it stands right now, we've raised $882.09. And then all the monies will go to them. We're going to probably continue this through tomorrow so we can raise as much money in advance of Christmas and then hopefully send them a big fat check. And so far, between myself and USMC Angry Vet, Matt, and others, we're over $2,500 that we've raised. So we're feeling really good about that. But thank you all very much.
I have a question about that. What happened at the courthouse? Were they charged with a crime or were they just removed?
They were just removed. They were not charged with a crime.
I'm
they
just
were
making sure that we don't need to pay for lawyers, because it was like $842 is not going to pay for legal fees.
But you know what, police, they had to go to the hospital, pay for parking, and then pay out of pocket to be treated for the injuries that they received because we don't have universal fucking healthcare in our country.
You can't even retain like 1/10 of a lawyer.
That's right. There's a few items on your, there's a few other things that I kind of wanted to talk about. Again, there's some interesting audio that I'd like to play that, again, we're talking about the deep state. Everybody, again, please continue to like and share the live. This was a clip that I pulled from, some data that Rachel Maddow had put together about some of the conflict of interests within our government. And I think it's really kind of interesting, just little subtleties that continue to happen because we know Trump's not going to divest. We know that Elon's not going to divest from his companies. But this is what Rachel was talking about when she was talking about some of the contradictions in conflict of interest, I should say. Let me just find.
The Trump transition has been amazing in all sorts of ways. The Wall Street Journal today ran a feature on the various and dubious pills and potions being sold by multiple Trump nominees for high office. Some of them continuing to shill for this stuff even after they've been named as a choice for a high position in the government. Trump's Surgeon General choice has her line of celebrity vitamins, which she sells on Instagram. They've got her picture on the label. Trump's would-be Medicare chief, who will sell you any number of things that might cure your Alzheimer's or your thyroid ailments or might make the fat melt away like magic. Trump's choice for FBI director, who will sell you pills that reverse the COVID vaccine. Sure, because sure.
Do you guys get it yet? Do you understand? You sit up here and you criticize Felice and I for grifting. Meanwhile, we're raising money to help a friend. We put a lot of work into this, and it's capitalism. We should be paid for what we do. We're not paid by some special interest groups or George Soros. You literally have a cabinet now loaded with people who are ripping you off, selling anti-vax mRNA detox, reverse the vax. That's from Kash Patel.
The average CEO, MAGA's grifting is prolific. That's another way. Like, I know I don't need to be offended by anything MAGA says because you can't even see that you're being grifted openly every single day. Actual pointless medications that do nothing, possibly actually harm you, and they're grifting you from that. But wait, now I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot where I was going with this. I was going somewhere good. I'll remember in 2 seconds, but. Yeah, I think that in order to, this is what Marx talked about, and specifically about women. Like, for somebody to go say to a woman in late stage capitalism, like, you're a grifter, is delusional. Throughout time, what we have seen happen to women in capitalism is our labor, right? 1 unit of labor. That's what Marx was saying. A unit of labor is a unit of labor. The average CEO in America makes over 300 times what the average worker in a company makes. When you start to see the wealth inequality lessen, that gap closes. You know, like the largest socialist company in the world is called Mondragon. And I think that gap is somewhere like 1 to 32. You know, like that's what you want to see, is that gap actually lessen. But women's labor, think about women's professions. We know that women make what, like 66 cents on the dollar for what men make? And you're telling me that I'm a grifter when I am literally I'm talking about data. I'm not talking about your feelings about who is a grifter and who isn't. I'm talking about data. An hour of a unit of my labor is worth less than men's in this country. And you're telling me that I am a grifter, that women's professions that are predominantly female have been devalued in society. That's why teachers make nothing. Think about this, right? There is literally zero value placed on our abdominal walls being torn open and babies ripped out of us. Our, you know, like, giving birth, raising children, managing a house. In American society, zero value is placed on that. And you are telling me how I should survive in capitalism. How dare you? Like, the privilege that men sit in to even fix their lips to tell a woman how to survive in capitalism is delusional. And it shows me that you can't follow a line of logic to save your lives. And you're incredibly selfish.
Since the election, Trump has introduced Trump guitars that are selling for $10,000 or more with an autograph. Trump sent his colognes. And MAGA, you think it's cute and you think it's clever, and you'll buy his Dogecoin, or you'll buy his NFTs, or you'll buy his shoes, or you'll buy all of his merch, and you think it's cute, and you laugh because you think you're owning the libs. Meanwhile, he's heading up an administration that literally is going after Felice's rights to her body, my daughter's rights to her body, admonishing poor people, wanting to punish seniors for what? Being seniors? Wanting to remove funding for public education for children who are in special needs programs or IEPs? Don't you have, MAGA, don't you have sons and daughters who want to go to college? You're going to be relying on a Pell Grant. That'll be gone. Part of the right's mission for the past 40 years is to keep the electorate dumber. Well, it's working. That's why they're never going to fund public education. They don't want you to know history. They don't want you to know the real history. They want you to know the whitewash history. They don't want you to know about Black Wall Street. They don't want you to know about our system being built by people who look like me to benefit people who look like me. Now you sprinkle a little billionaire in there and you've got white nationalism. Welcome to America. This is what you voted for. You can't sit there and be objective and say that you care about your family, you care about you're pro-life. You can't sit there and say that you care about children. You can't sit there and say that you care about bodily autonomy. You don't give a shit. White men in America in this era, in our time, are the most selfish humans I have ever met in my life. So it's pitiful, absolutely pitiful. Be a traitor to the patriarchy. It impacts all of us. It's, again, we talk about this before. I just said it earlier. We know how damaging toxic masculinity is to women, but it's incredibly damaging to men too. Teach your boys to be better. Teach them to respect themselves so they can respect others. Teach your daughters they don't need to settle. They should demand respect and then demand it again and keep demanding it until they get it. Plain and simple. Push back on companies that still don't pay women what they're worth. Push back on companies that still don't pay women the same as they pay men for the same fucking job.
Yeah, you know the most educated cross-section. The most educated cross-section in America is Black women.
Absolutely.
And they are paid the least.
Absolutely. And Raven, you're saying you never thought you would ever see an oligarchy. We've been seeing it for a very long time. You know, I'm not sure how old you are, but for most people, we can consolidate this down to the 1980s. It's been going on longer than that, but that's a pretty good point where we can literally look at today's modern Republican agenda politically from a taxation perspective and watch the wealth gap get wider and wider at the expense of social programs. at the expense of marginalized communities. Every single time there's an election, we ask black women to show up and save our asses, and they do it every single time, but they're done. I don't blame them. I wouldn't trust anybody. If I were a woman, I wouldn't trust any man. If I remember the BIPOC community, I wouldn't trust anybody other than themselves. And even we saw even black men kind of didn't show up like they have in the past. Like, it's on us. It's on people who look like me. It's on people who look like me, who built the fucking system to benefit people who look like me. It's on us to push back. We are the ones. This is what's happening to our country. This is what's happening. This involves all of us. Those picket lines. I guarantee you, if you were to go to the picket lines, especially in New York, I know AOC has shown up there. You got to ask those voters. You think all of them are woke Democrats? I mean, those picketers. You think all of them are woke Democrats? Of course they're not.
Can I just address another asinine comment?
Sure.
If that were true, why don't companies hire only women? As a teacher, the teacher in me wants you to answer that question, right? God. You think that you said something intelligent. You think you did something there. Why don't you follow your own line of logic? Do you understand why? Do you understand that women couldn't have lines of credit, 30 years ago? That we needed a co-signer for a loan. We could not amass wealth. We could not vote, right? Especially minority women, right? I'm indigenous Mexican, part black. Minority women just started voting, right? Like, do you understand that this is not a level playing field? Like, it's mind-boggling to me that men could be so clueless about what is going on in the world.
Don't care. It's
absolutely mind-boggling to me. Black women, do you know black women are 3 times more likely to unalive during childbirth? And that's regardless. It doesn't matter if they're rich, right? Serena Williams, one of the richest people in the world, almost unalive during childbirth. It doesn't matter how much black women make. Upward mobility will not save them from being discriminated against subconsciously, unconscious bias in society, right? I'm just reading an article where black activists, like healthcare workers, are like, I have to tell brown and black women, like, hey, speak up when something's wrong because your life depends on it. No one's coming to save you, right? I mean, that's the reality. And we have genuinely, people think they're owning the libs, saying, if that was true, why don't companies just hire women? Like, for the love of God, read a book.
I was having this conversation with my daughter last night, and I reminded her of exactly what you just said, that women could not get a personal loan until 1983, 1984 without men's signature as co-signers. They couldn't get a business loan on their own until 1988. 1988. Everybody in this chat was born.
Why don't you come up here, Jay? You're J1981, literally still chirping. Like, it has no.
Jay. Why are you such a coward, Jay? Why are you such a coward?
Come up here, Jay. You're so sure you know something. You know less than nothing. Like, truly, you are detracting from this highly intellectual conversation we are having. You are actually taking away from it. Like, women, right? Just to be clear, what the Christian church was about was disenfranchising and controlling women. The people that are able to create life, right? We were chattel slaves, right? Marriage was a contract between a man and a man. We were property passed on through contractual marriage certificates.
Giving someone away. That's where it comes from. That's history. I'm giving you away. I'm giving my property away to someone else. That's the point, right? Shout out to Sue. Thank you, Sue. Said, but I make very good points. Thank you for standing up for us minorities. Yep, MAGA women are minorities too. And thanks for not calling us chat. Much appreciated. Sue the accountant. Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it.
Love Sue. You're the best, Sue.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate you. Yeah, so Jay, why don't you come up? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid to show us that you know nothing about any of this? Are you afraid? Do you want to hide behind your privilege? Do you want to hide the fact that you think that you because you know that you feel that you can control women and see them as property? Yeah, you prove my point. Of course you won't. We know you won't. Listen, everything is divisive, right? We are divisive as a nation. I get it. I understand. But why, though, is the question, right? Why? Because those of you on the right, chose a fantasy, a promise from a billionaire who benefits off of your ignorance that he's going to lower your prices and end inflation. That's what you voted for. You voted because he told you the brown people are coming to get you. He told you that the dogs and the cats in Springfield, Ohio were being eaten by Haitian immigrants, and you believed it. Meanwhile, he's laughing at you, stacking his administration with billionaires,
stealing from you
literally every day, giving people in his cabinet, giving cabinet positions to his friends that are in the industries that are stealing from you. Healthcare, energy, finance, banking, all these industries that are stealing from you, that are causing you to lose your lives because of whether it be bankruptcy, medical bankruptcy, being evicted from your homes, veterans who voted for Trump, having your veterans benefits taken away, wanting to hold up allocation for the VA benefits every single year, turning into a political game while people's lives are impacted, taking funding away from children cancer research, taking funding away from Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid because you don't deserve it. Seriously? This is what you voted for. This is what you voted for, and you don't care. You cannot stand in public again and say you're pro-life. You can't. You can't.
Well, Jay says he's working, but he keeps texting. What veterans benefits are being taken away? Jay has no idea. This man is still going and doesn't even know that they're planning to take veterans. Wait, you know who always takes and votes against benefits for veterans, Jay? Conservatives. It's always the same people. You can do a simple Google search and look at vote counts, and you could realize that.
Yeah.
Delusional.
Exactly. Completely delusional.
I'm sorry, willfully ignorant.
Yes, willfully ignorant. It's a good way to say it. Allie, are you there?
I am.
Hi there. How are you today?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. Considering who's going to be our president, I came in because I'm a 69-year-old white female who did not vote for Trump. And I have to say that to people in Texas constantly because just by my looks, they assume I did.
I get that. As a bearded white guy, Allie, I get that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I marched for Roe versus Wade when I was in college. We won. And here we are now with our Trumpy Supreme Court. And
you remember what it was like before that, Allie? Specifically when it came to women's rights to their body. Do you remember what it was like?
I do. I remember that it was horrible, and that's why we were all marching. And we came to, when we won, it was fabulous. We were so proud of ourselves, and it made a huge difference that has lasted until now. And I have a question that I want to ask y'all because I, as you know, live in Texas. Everybody I know did not vote for Trump. I don't even know how this man won because I'm in Texas and everybody I know voted for Kamala. So I'm just like, what? But my question to y'all is, I have quit going to Walmart. I canceled my Amazon
membership.
I can't think of the word, but I'm no longer with Amazon. I'm doing what I personally can, but I feel like if another 100,000 don't do the same thing, it's not going to make a difference. And I want to know, what can we do? I saw one of the comments that said, what are y'all doing about it? And I'm like thinking, why are they asking you to, what are you doing about it? Why aren't they asking themselves, what can I do about it? And that's my question. What can I do? I'm a single person out here floating in this massive insaneness. And I'm on Medicare. I am on Social Security. I am not a rich person. I'm not a poor person, but I'm not a rich person. And what can I do?
Felice, I have many thoughts on this. If you wanted to, first of all, Ellie, let me just say this. First of all, thank you for being on the front lines 50 years ago. Appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
I would say this, Ellie. Apathy is where dreams go to die. And I think what I've seen from the left is apathetic entitlement in many cases. You know, in the quest for perfection, we ignore the good. And I think that's the problem when you have a very big tent. I think an advantage of liberal ideology is that it welcomes in people from all different walks of life, all races, colors, creed, orientations, whatever that might be. And that's a good thing because you hear many voices. The problem is that you can never find the exact message that's going to resonate with everyone within that community. Saying human rights are the priority is not necessarily enough to everybody. The reason that, in my opinion, that this election was lost was because of selfishness, entitlement by many people on the left, whether it be Palestine, whether it be tired of the machine, whether it be for whatever reason, which is selfish, because now we have what we have, right? So the first thing to do would be, are you willing to phone bank? Have you ever considered? I'm not saying you specifically. You've done your work, but in general, are you willing to phone bank? But I also
phone bank.
There you go.
And every time I get one of those texts, call your congressman, I am on the phone immediately.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it, right? I mean, are you running for a school board seat? Do you go to school board meetings even if you don't have kids in school anymore? One of the reasons that the right wins elections in many cases is because they run unopposed. That's how Lauren Boebert got her seat. That's how MTG got her seat initially. They ran unopposed. So Democratic apathy, not willing to stand up, even moderate Republicans, I don't want to go against the noise. We become apathetic as a society. We struggle to get 65% of our electorate to vote. 90,000 registered voters did not vote in this election. 90,000 people didn't vote for whatever. 90 million didn't vote. 90 million people did not vote that were registered in this election. That is staggering to think about. Staggering. So how do we fix it? I think it's conversations like this. I think it's for people. Again, the margins are so slim. 2, 3, 4, 5% of people that decided not to turn out for the last election realize that it's the billionaire class that's actually ripping us off. If they show up in the midterms, then we flip the script. Felice, any comments on that?
No, but I'm just going to say knowledge is power because I have a lot of different feelings. Like as a minority and somebody who has been an activist, I find myself tired, or even as a woman, like Ali saying she was on the front lines of the Roe v. Wade. I think there was a lot of apathy on the left. I heard people sitting on TikTok for months. I worked for the Kamala Harris campaign in a swing state. I heard people sitting on TikTok for months, and I'm talking about leftists saying, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. And they all had different reasons, like you're saying, it was Palestine, it was whatever. And that's the question. We are up against a group of people who blindly vote as a block.
Exactly.
Right? There's no personal feelings. There's no reason. There's no logic. So we have to vote as a block, and not just a block, a coalition of people that even extends past, the left, right?
Indeed.
And it's not happening. So I think we all have unique skill sets. I want to say that because I think, and I actually don't like phone banking. I'm just going to push back on phone banking. I think the way the Democrats ran this election, the way we were getting messages about, I phone banked, I door knocked, but I made content, but I don't think the answer is knocking on doors and having one-on-one conversations. I don't think the answer is phone banking. We have to change, just like this last, this last week, how America Fest happened, Turning Point USA, which is headquartered in Arizona, with Charlie Kirk, and they have all of these podcasters, all of these activists, all these stars. We have to get our message out. We have to change the way we do it. As someone that works in advertising, I don't know if that's, I think we have to change that. I don't know that phone banking is probably a thing of the past. I don't think people answer their phones the way they used to. But I think we all have unique skill sets. And that's what you need to think about, because I'm passionate. I worked in advertising and I'm an educator, and I am trying my best to use the skill set I have, or the way I see everything as patterns, right? And use that to affect change. But what I'm good at, the next person isn't, and vice versa. And what they're good at, I'm not. So I think everyone uniquely needs to think about what your strengths are and how you can move the ball forward. We all have to go to lay in our own bed at night and go to sleep, and answer to ourselves and say, that's all I kept thinking with the election is like, I'm just going to leave it all out on the field. Like, I don't want to have to lay in bed and think, I wish I would have done more, Right. And that's what I would say. Just when you have to answer to yourself, just make sure you can say like, hey, I gave it everything I had.
And thank you for saying that, because, I wore my vote t-shirts every day, and I literally talked to people everywhere, and I would find they would say, no, I'm not voting for Kamala. Well, that the choice is Kamala or Trump. And how do you feel about Trump? Well, I hate Trump. Well, then you need to vote for Kamala. And people for some reason didn't. I mean, there's two people, guys. How hard is this to figure out? So yeah. And just for a last thing before we get back to you guys, I was terrified a few days ago when Elon Musk said, hey, Republicans, no, don't do that. And they freaking did what he said.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I just about lost my mind.
Thank you.
What little is left after all of this.
Really appreciate your work that you're doing. Keep fighting. Appreciate you very much.
And thank you guys a lot.
You got it. Talk to you later.
Bye.
So what we're just talking about, and I think this again goes back to the swamp, right? So this I've shared this before. This is Wired Magazine reported on this. This is the spheres of influence from right versus left. So the red circles are right-wing media, social media, specifically non-mainstream, and the blue are left. And you can see the dominance of Elon. So think about this. He's talked about Donald Trump wants to sue mainstream media organizations out of business. He wants MSNBC, ABC just settled that lawsuit, which was bullshit. I understand why they did it, because it's part of the machine. They want to continue to gain access. They did it because they're now beholden to the billionaire class. This is a perfect example. Elon Musk's wealth would enable him to buy all these organizations. Comcast wants to peel off MSNBC. I would not be surprised if you saw Elon Musk put a bid in for it. So this is what we're talking about. The Republican game has been very focused on messaging and media sources, and they've done a really good job at it. Let's be real. This is what they've got. They've kicked our ass. And I agree, just to be clarified, I'm not saying phone banking is the answer. I agree it's outdated. I'm just saying activism in general.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think everyone needs to think about their unique skill set. But like that is on a micro level, because I saw someone in the comments say it like, hey, I think some of this is bigger than us. And you're absolutely right. Like the Saudis helping Elon Musk finance buying X and having a social media reach and liquid income to that level. I don't know how you combat that. I mean, that is something, if there are any billionaires that still have a conscience left, like Mark Cuban, I mean, that's, like in Texas, there's 2 billionaires who are largely funding a lot of conservative issues. They don't want people to know who they are. They are driving the funding. These same 2 billionaires have created a legal fund. So when right-wing people commit crimes for Trump, and if and when they are charged, there's a legal fund to protect them. Like we probably need a legal fund for Trump's frivolous lawsuits. These are all things like, it's called like, what is it called? Like lawyer, it's called like social lawyering or cause lawyering. I can't remember, but it's just, like we probably need lawyers who are willing to fight. Like, I think that's why Midas Touch is unique, because most of them are lawyers. And if they get sued, they are going to fight that. Exactly. They're going to fight they're made up of mostly lawyers who have done defamation law. So yeah, I mean, that's the advantage that they have. But I mean, we all have unique skill sets and ways we're surviving into capitalism, and we need to sort of think about that.
The right accusations, their projections are always confessions. I mean, literally complaining that the left has been trying to suppress their voices for so long, and meanwhile they are literally suppressing voices. I mean, think about the
shitting on the First Amendment. Yeah, like the hypocrisy.
Exactly. I mean, literally, again, you can have an opinion on flag burning, but Texas v. Johnson, 1989, Supreme Court ruled that you can do it. It's protected speech. Meanwhile, Donald Trump wants to put you in jail for doing that. Donald Trump wants to put you in jail for saying bad things about the Supreme Court justices, violation of your First Amendment rights. Again, this is part of the threat. The connection is Elon, right? And there's other billionaires that are connected to these organizations, you know, whether it be Peter Thiel's money or other groups that are funding these Russian money, funding.
Exactly. We have to counteract that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to build this type of network, and we have to find the money, and like, that's the truth. Like, we have to counteract what the right is up to. Like, that's what I would say. And it's a multifaceted, multi-pronged thing. And then on a micro level, you just need to look at like, hey, what's my skill set, and like, how can I best be utilized, and figure that out.
Good morning, my friend. I'm assuming you're on Christmas break, so enjoy your vacation. You've earned it. Teachers rock.
Thank you so much. Just so happy to see you guys and being able to join in. I just think that you guys are making some key facts, and I really wanted to say thank you to Allie for opening my eyes for someone who's a boomer, but she had more experience in the real fight for the Roe versus Wade. But I think, as you guys said, when we kind of come together and come up collectively with ideas, we can make this work. These recent allegations in the media, the news, and all the other things that are going on has really almost, it has effective in the classroom to build and inspire for my students to own it, or would I be more effective to have a voice for policies? So I'm thinking about coming out of the classroom. And it's a big decision for me because that's the only area that I've been in, but I don't like where this is going to go. And I am one of those in the profession where all the things that's being discussed will affect me the most.
You know what I've learned from talking to you and having Felice on the panel here? The one thing I've learned in being raised by a teacher, don't piss off a teacher. That's all I can say. Don't piss off a teacher. And when you talk about the threats that teachers have been under, the blame that's been levied their way, and it's the teacher's fault that my kids are dumb, and all the rhetoric, and now we're supposed to arm teachers, and now we're going to take money away from the Department of Education so that IEP programs to support your teachers. I mean, you continue to go after teachers. Again, I'll say it publicly. Overfund the Department of Education, increase salaries for teachers exponentially so that they can be incentivized to go into the profession of teaching. So they don't have to leave teaching to go to corporate America because of the skill sets that they have. Teachers in general make this country work, along with other professions as well, but teachers in particular. You've been degraded for so long, and I don't blame you for wanting to take your skill sets outside of the classroom. I hope you don't, because I know how amazing of a teacher you are, but I get it.
Yeah. It's pretty bad, and especially when I have a class of honor students who have IEPs and 504s.
Exactly.
I mean, I just don't even understand where is this going to go, because we're already stretched beyond the limits to give those federal accommodations. And for you to threaten that kind of a caliber, we're still talking about higher level thinking students, not just the below grade level students. And the paperwork and everything that has been coming down the pike is really, really exhausting. And sometimes I come home and I'm so exhausted from doing the paperwork and the lesson plans and all these other things that they want us to do, which those are not the things that change the actual performance for the students. They do nothing. It's a bunch of teacher busy work. And it's just, to me, it seems that It's not going to change. It's only going to get worse. And if they do try to dismantle the Board of Education, the problem that we're going to have is that those charter schools do not have to have the same guidelines. So where do we go? Right. They don't have to have the same guidelines. So where do we go as public educators where you're threatening my Social Security, where you're threatening my pension for retirement, even to the effect that I may not be able to retire or withdraw Social Security, and I'm at the age where I feel like I want to.
This is the reality. This is the reality.
And so if these other people who voted for this person who is up and coming in January, if you really wanted to know what's happening, this is what's happening. You're talking to a senior qualified educator with 4 degrees in education, and I am now at the point where do I go next? Because all of my years of training and everything that I've gone through, it is absolutely going to mean one solid thing. And your children are going to be the ones most affected by it, because whatever opportunity you had and you didn't take up on it, they don't even have the choice. They are stuck. And they are not going to get the education that you want to see. And you can blame it on a teacher all you want, but it is not us. It is the people that you put into place. And if you don't start paying attention to what they're saying, on your local levels, as well as the federal executive branch level, you are going to see the worst thing coming, because what we learned from COVID, a lot of you parents couldn't even pick up the pieces when we were on a COVID to even help your kids with their schoolwork.
Well,
and we as
whatever you decide will be the right choice for you, and you know that you've done the work. But I just want to take this moment once again to just to acknowledge teachers for what they do and how they do it. And every profession, like we know, there are bad teachers. We all know that. There are bad plumbers, like there are bad doctors, like there are bad mechanics. We get that, but the industry deserves more respect than it gets. Plain and simple. Period.
Well, thank you so
public
much,
education,
you guys.
overfund public education, and pay teachers more. Thank you for being here, my friend. I appreciate you. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you guys. Have a happy holiday, everyone.
You too. See you later.
Bye-bye.
So perfect. Such a pervasive issue. And like, if you want to look into it, Arizona is the blueprint for what happens with school choice. We had it before any of you even heard of school choice. We had it since I was a kid in Arizona, and we are 48 in education. If you want to know how it's going badly.
That's right. I mean, I think the right by and large doesn't understand how public education is funded. Like, they don't really get that it's funded through property tax. They say it is, and they wonder why. Well, there's a lot of these really bad performing schools. Well, it's because a lot of it's based on property taxes. And guess what? Property values in marginalized communities are not as high as they are in the suburbs and the gentrified areas. So just the reality. I've asked this question a million times. If you have a school voucher, who pays the difference? Who pays the difference? And their response is, well, the parents should. The parents now that depend on free breakfast and free lunch for their kids so they can eat. The parents that don't have a car, they depend on public education and public school buses to get their kids to and from school. Those parents that have to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet, those parents have to pay the difference. The billionaire class. The billionaire class wanting to eliminate the Department of Education because they want to keep their voters dumb. They don't want you to see what's going on. Chris in the chat, you got a lot to say. You won't come up either. I get that. I wouldn't either. If I was a MAGA voter, I wouldn't want to show my face publicly, for sure. The pro-life
so many
crowd,
people in the chat. I have noticed that. It's very interesting. They don't ever want to come up here and talk.
Yeah, the billionaire class, the ones that you defend, the criticism that you levied against George Soros for years, right? But meanwhile, you didn't realize, did you, that Scott Bessent is a George Soros protege and now is the new Treasury Secretary? You didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that. You don't care, though, do you?
Someone says they're in the queue. I don't know if that is. Are you opposition?
The mole is here. How are you, mole?
I'm doing good.
What's on your mind?
I was reading your background, the Musk administration. Since when did he become elected?
It's kind of the point, isn't it, my guy?
I don't know. That's why I was asking you.
Okay. You voted for Trump?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Did you vote for him because he promised to lower your gas prices?
No.
Why'd you vote?
He
for
has
him?
nothing to do with the gas prices.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Did you blame Joe Biden for the gas prices going up?
No.
Okay, good. Good. So why did you vote for him then?
I just felt like he was better of the two.
So can you tell us what way? What was he better? Let's if you could, let's try to be specific, okay? Let's try to be
The
specific.
first time that
not feelings, but
the
specific.
first time that Trump ran, Harris was running. She was the first one out of the race. This time, I think if they would have just put her in a little bit earlier and gave her more time to do an actual campaign, I think she might have done a lot better.
I think the question I asked you though is why you voted for Trump.
Because the last term that he was in there, he didn't do nothing bad that everybody's saying he's going to do now.
So you're saying he didn't do anything bad the first time that he was the president?
No, I mean, with COVID hitting, I mean, it was just a downhill part from there, in which Biden picked that up too, which he slowly come out of it.
Are you a working class man?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the value of hard work?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm a liberal white guy who paints his nails and also believes in the value of hard work. So we have that in common. Okay. Do you think billionaires are looking out for you?
No.
But you have a cabinet that is loaded with billionaires.
I don't think millionaires are looking out for me neither.
Okay, I don't disagree. You have a cabinet that is loaded with billionaires. Their combined wealth, my guy, is over how many countries? Their combined wealth is over like
169.
169.
There's only like 190 something countries.
So did you catch that, Mole? So the cabinet, or the guy you voted for, their combined wealth is more than 169 countries combined. Do you think that they're looking out for you?
Well, how many times in history has
Can you
this
answer
happened?
my question? We don't answer questions with questions. How many do you think that they're looking out for you?
Probably not.
Why'd you vote for it then?
I didn't know who his cabinet picks was going to be.
We told you who his cabinet picks were going to be. We told you that. We told you that he's going to give you tax cuts to the rich. We told you that.
Tax cuts to the rich. No, you didn't say nothing about cabinet picks.
Where do you think that's going to come from? Why do you think Donald Trump would go to these $1 million a ticket, fundraisers and stand up in front of his crowd and said, "Don't worry, you vote for me and I'm going to give you more tax cuts"? And then are you surprised that all of a sudden Elon Musk spent $270?
Now you heard
I'm not done talking. I'm not done talking. I'm not done talking. You voted for a guy $275 million that Elon Musk spent to get Donald Trump elected. That we
You
know
heard
of.
Trump say this.
Heard Trump say what?
About the tax cut to the wealth.
Yeah.
My guy, where have you been? You want to see his tax plan?
Yeah, I played the clip where he said it.
How about I just show you his tax plan? You see what's on my screen? See this right here? This is Donald Trump's proposed tax plan. These brackets right here are all of us, the working poor. All of
We're
our
going to
taxes
pay
go
more.
up. All of our taxes go up. These two brackets over here, you can't see the last one. These are for people making more than $400,000 a year. Everybody there gets a tax cut. Corporations get their tax cut, their corporate tax rate reduced from 20. He reduced it from 28 to 21 the first time. Now he wants to drop it down to 15%. We've been telling you guys this for years.
But what
You
source
voted
is
for
this
that.
from?
What?
What source did you get this from?
The Institute
Trump's
for Taxation and
tax
Economic
plan.
Policy is just the data. It's Trump's tax plan. This is what it is. It's just the data. Mole, you got to stop just thinking that everybody's out to get you. These are the people that
No,
are
I
ripping
don't
you
think
off,
no
my
one's
guy.
out to get me. I'm just
They
just
are.
about getting sick of hearing all the bullshit going on. He's going to be president for the next 4 years. Get over it. I mean, if he don't do no
Did you
good,
get over it? I'll tell you what. I'll get
elect
over it as
another
much.
one.
You know what, Mole? I'll get over it as much as you got over Joe Biden being president. How about that?
I did get over it.
Joe Biden didn't rob us, though. Joe Biden lowered the deficit.
Joe Biden robbed us for
No,
about
no,
50
no.
damn years.
Listen, Mole, you
Ever
can
since he
feel
become
like that
Congress in
happened.
the
You can,
70s,
Mole, stop talking.
he's been
Mole, stop
fucking
talking.
us over.
Mole, stop
you
talking.
can feel like that happened, but it didn't happen. Joe
It
Biden
did
lowered.
happen. He
Mole,
became a
stop talking.
multi-millionaire.
Again,
off our
again,
tax dollars.
again.
Stop talking.
It didn't
Mole.
happen.
It did happen.
How?
Okay.
Look at
again,
his tax record.
can you
It's
stop
public
screaming at me, please?
record.
Can you please
Well,
stop
that-
screaming and be quiet? Anyways, it didn't happen. It factually did not. Biden lowered the deficit. I know you probably don't know what the deficit is, but Biden helped us balance the budget. Trump
His
added,
income
stop
is
interrupting me
public
speaking.
record.
Stop. And again, I'm not talking about anyone's personal income.
Well, fuck you, bitch. I don't give a damn about your feelings.
Okay, I
It's
literally
public
have to
fucking
go.
There we go.
I literally have to go. Like, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Felice. I think we'll end there. For those of you who are Trump voters, this is who you are. You don't know anything about what you did. All you fucking armchair economists, you armchair lawyers, you armchair, professionals, you don't know a damn thing. You don't know a damn thing. You sit in your little entitled privileged spaces and you criticize everybody else. You criticize everyone else. You blame women. You blame marginalized groups. You blame the BIPOC community. You blame LGBTQIA. You blame the poor. You blame the elderly. The only people you don't blame are yourselves for voting for trash. You can sit around under your Christmas tree and you can celebrate as you hand your sons and daughters MAGA merch. You can look your daughter in the eye and say, hey, just so you know, I voted for a guy. I voted for a guy who brags about grabbing women by the pussy and is proud that he appointed Supreme Court justices to take your rights away. That's the reality. This is who you are. And you expect us to get along? It's an embarrassment. I'm so sorry, Felice. We're going to end today. Who are we rating, guys? USMC? I think, is Matt live? Matt may not be live. He had kidney stones. I'm not sure who we're rating, but look, you don't have to believe us. I don't care. Let's rate Pickles. You don't have